And we are live. Good evening, everybody.
How's it going, everyone?
Okay, guys and girls, if you're watching. Whoa, I just put my phone on silent. Whoa, straight into it there. Unprofessional, but that's the way it is. Right, guys. Good evening. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Are we still saying Merry Christmas? What's the date today? The 4th?
Yeah, I think we're past Christmas now, but Merry Christmas if we didn't say it to anyone who's watching.
So, guys, this is a start of a new venture that me and Paul have got going on, and also Andy, ElectricGeek, who will be joining us at 8 o'clock, but he's got to get the bands to bed. But we'll be going into our, I know it says top 5 on the thumbnail, guys, but top 10. We're pushing the boat out. I thought we were going to have an extra human here, but Badger had better things to do. He told me. No, he didn't really, but he could make it. But anyway, guys, yeah, hope you're all doing well. Like I say, we're going to get into it at 8 o'clock, our top 10 lists. For starters, me and Paul are going to get into our honourable mentions of the year, just to get a bit warmed up for the stream. Guys, just a bit of a disclaimer before we get going as well. I'm going to be a bit up and down with the comments. I can't get to all the comments because we're on a bit of a time frame tonight. I unfortunately have got no beers, no alcohol of any sort. I am on the 10 till 6 shift. Fuck you, Paul. I want to celebrate, man. But I've got a coffee from Greg's, so I'm ready to go, mate. I'm ready to go. But Paul, how have you been, mate? How have you been?
I've been very well, man. I've been excited. We finally got this off the ground. For anyone who doesn't know, me, Ellis, and Andy, who will be joining us shortly, we've been wanting to do this for months and months. I think in the summer we started just inboxing each other on Instagram, going, we should do a thing, we should do a stream together. We all talk to each other all the time on Instagram. We've been on all each other's channels on YouTube, and we thought, well, we just need to get together, because I know you're like me, Ellis. You prefer doing live streams and that with other people. You like talking movies, and it's harder to do it on your own, and it's a lot easier and more fun to do it with like-minded people and other film fans. You just have more of a better time, and I think I think you can have more fun, and that's what we want to do. We wanted to get together and do a podcast stream, whatever you like to call it, and just talk movies. And this is it. This is episode 1. Obviously, we wanted to do this last week or the week before, with it being Christmas and the holidays. We were all our shifts were all over the place with work. We just couldn't get the time together, and we pushed it back. But we're here now, and I'm excited to go with episode 1 and talk about what an incredible year 2023 was for movies. And there were some absolute gems out there last year.
There were some absolute bangers, mate. Absolute bangers.
Yeah.
And guys, I think what Paul's trying to say in so many words is our girlfriends and partners and wives are just totally sick of us. So we've got to get online and talk to each other about it. We've got to give them a rest.
I need to vent, man. I need to talk.
Mate, there's going to be plenty to talk about. There's 2024 is the year of sequels and prequels, whatnot. But then we've got a pretty big year in 2025. So over the course of the next year, we're going to be getting into the movies coming out this year, next year. But expect live reviews of Dune, Joker, Furiosa, all these big staple projects that we will try and live review for you. And we're going to be experimenting with some news segments as well. This isn't going to be like where you'd come for your news, but if there's anything relating to me, Paul, or Andy that we want to talk about, we will get into that over the live streams as well. Maybe it's 3 or 5 news topics, if there is any. Might not. We might just do another top 10 list if there's nothing to talk about that week. But yeah, man. So 2023. I tell you what, Paul, going through my letterboxd where I log all my films, like over half of that list I enjoyed. There wasn't loads of films that I was like, ooh, not so sure on this year. I mean, there was a couple of big staples that I was really looking forward to that maybe didn't meet my expectations. Maybe it's not the film's fault. That's me having blown up expectations. But we've been getting a lot of good stuff the last couple of years. So, 2023, good year, mate. Good year.
It was a good year. Just going through, I'm just literally, my letterbox is right there, my laptop's right there. I'm just scrolling through it. It's like you just said, there's, when I sort of spoilt my sort of favorites and least favorites, but when I put them on my Instagram, I specifically said least favorites because the ones that I'm a least favorite just happen to be there on that list. The other films that I watched I preferred them more, but like you just said, there wasn't many that I walked out of going, I absolutely hated that. But I don't really do that with movies anyway, because there's not many movies I watch that I know I'm going to, like, if the new Melissa McCarthy Sky original it comes out, I'm like, I'm personally not going to watch that, so I won't waste my time with it. I mean, that could be the best film of the year, but that's on me. But I always just go into films that I feel like I will like, or the genre that I like, or people are hyping them up on other social medias, and I'm like, I need to check it out. I need to see what people are raving about. But no, I would actually go as far as saying not one film that I watched in 2023 did I actively dislike. Someone walked out of going, yeah, I enjoyed it, but I'll forget about it in a couple of days. It was a good bit of entertainment for 2 hours.
Yeah, totally. Like, nothing came out that like I was offended by. Like, I didn't come out the cinema once, so finish the film and go, ooh, my god. Like, there was some, just to get into it, because we're not going to do like a top like 5 most disappointing or anything like that. I just don't think we'll have the time for it, mate. But like as far as like disappointments go this year, there was like The Exorcist Believer, but like I didn't really go into that really expecting much, because I thought the trailers looked pretty jank to begin with, to be honest. But yeah, that was a bit of a mishap, definitely. Go on, sorry.
If any, that is probably the one film you picked. That's what I was going to say, that I did walk out and actually thought I didn't enjoy it at all. It did nothing for me. That is probably the one out of the how many films I watched in 2023.
Started off okay, but it just ended so badly. Like, that whole third act was whoa, what are we doing?
I made the mistake of watching the original the night before as well, which just which to me is still one of the best films ever made. Not even favorite, best horror. It's one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. So to stick that name on a property that you're trying to reboot or requel or whatever the hell you wanted to call it, it just did not live up to that name whatsoever.
No, it absolutely didn't. Like, the thing is with it, they were trying to tap into like the success that they had with the Halloween franchise, and it just didn't. I don't know. Like, I think they were a bit hasty. I think they should have took a step back after Halloween Ends and thought, right, let's just bang our heads together here and get this next trilogy right, because they're expecting a trilogy out of this Exorcist Believer.
I'll be surprised to. I'm not too sure how it did at the box office, if they'll even get the sequel off the ground. I can't remember how much money it made.
I think they paid a lot of money for the rights, and
right,
it's
so like, they're going to do it regardless.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like they need to recoup some sort of financial backing back. But yeah, man. As far as me, there was a couple of films this year. Well, I tell you what. Let's just get into some honourable mentions. I don't want to start the stream off too.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, guys, we're not going to be one of these channels.
This film's crap, rubbish.
Yeah. We're not one of them ones.
No.
So, mate, do you want to go first? Just a random any film you want to pick out that it's not on your top 10. Honourable mention, mate. Go for it.
Sure. This was on my top 10 until December. 2 films knocked out the top 10, so I'll throw it out. The Super Mario Brothers movie. For me, as a fan of Nintendo, I grew up with Nintendo was my childhood. Obviously, we had that movie in 1993, which when I was a kid, I actually thought it was quite good. But it's one of them, like when you watch it now, you're like, what the hell is this?
I watched it for the first time this year, actually.
Yeah, and even though I watch it now, I still get that. I can still take myself back to when I was a kid, trying to sort of kid myself that it's an okay film. If you don't think it's anyway, it's crap.
It's a good Mad Max film, but it's not a
yeah. But what? And I'm not a big fan of Illuminations as well, who the studio behind it. I'm more of a Pixar guy. Illuminations, who do Minions and I think they did like the Secret Life of Pets. A couple of animated films that didn't really work for me. So, but when I seen the trailer, I was like, man, look, they've captured this. This is Mario to a T. And obviously, they had Nintendo back in. I believe the creator of the video game had a lot of input in it, and it's, it's not, a big, epic plot or anything. It's a Super Mario movie. You play a Super Mario game, there ain't much to it anyway. But in terms of capturing the essence of the game, the worlds, the animation was fantastic. Everything, just the sound effects, the music, pulled straight out of the video games, just worked for me. And it's probably my most watched film of the year, because I bought the 4K a couple of months ago, and it's been sat on my PlayStation 5, and every time I'm bored, I just sort of hit play on it rather than put something else in. It's because it's not a very long film, but yeah, it just works for me, man. I thought it was a great video game adaptation. I'm looking forward to it. Made a hell of a lot. It was like the second most money making film of the year, so we're going to get another one. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do down the line with this franchise, and they've got so much to pull from the video games that they didn't use in the first one. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. It's just a fun movie. If you're a fan of Super Mario, if you grew up with Nintendo, and it's literally a love letter to that game for me.
See, I've got no skin in the game when it comes to Super Mario. Like I've never really played the games or anything like that. My partner, Georgia, she loves it. Like, she went and saw the Super Mario film and said it was amazing for what it was trying to accomplish. It did what it was supposed to do, and she said Jack Black was amazing as well. Like, yeah, which was I don't know, like, Jack Black's amazing. He can sometimes be, a stereotype, but if it suits, and just let him do it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he was probably the best voiced actor in the film. Like, if you played a Mario game, you don't really have voices anyway. So to hear voices coming out of these characters for the first time properly, like talking to each other and that, Jack Black of Bowser was awesome, and that Peaches song. The first time I heard that Peaches song, I was like, "What is this?" But couldn't stop singing it, man. Could not stop singing it.
Is it? Do you reckon it'll be voted in for the Oscars? Or...
I'd like it to. I'm pretty sure I've read. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I've read it. They don't think it's going to now, but I'd love for it to just get a nomination or a mention or something, because everyone was singing it. Like, it was all over, reels and TikTok and stuff. People like reciting it and stuff. I love that movie. I thought it was great.
If they can put the Ken song up for Oscars, they can put this song up for Oscars, I reckon. 100%.
Yeah. I don't think. I mean, there's not really been that many musical movies out for songs. I mean, I think Wonka might get a couple in there, maybe, even though I couldn't even name you one.
Well, in fairness, that was one of the criticisms that I've heard about Wonka. That it's okay, it's a little bit mid, but the songs aren't great. In fairness,
I remember tapping my foot to him in the movie when I was watching it, but I can't really remember any.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, it's one of them. I think in the heat of the moment, like, even I would be in there, I'd be like, okay, yeah, this is okay, but I'd probably instantly forget it when I come out. But, like we were talking earlier on, that's a film that I've sort of like avoided, because just from the trailers, mate, I just thought, no, what is this? What was it? We were talking about it, and we were saying, like, I originally, when I saw the back stage photos of Wonka and stuff that come out maybe 2 years ago at this point. But they were giving me like Sherlock Holmes vibes with Robert Downey Jr. And I was like, okay, I can probably get behind this if they're going for like a bit of a dark, like, prequel origin story. But then when I saw the trailer, I was just like, oh, this is the fourth Fantastic Beasts film and where to find or Harry Potter film. Do you know what I mean? I think, and
that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like a prequel that didn't really need to be there. My problem with Wonka, and it's another film, like, I enjoyed it, but I just forgot about it so quickly, and people were raving about it. It's like, Again, we don't want to get too negative, but my one issue with that film is that Willy Wonka as a character, he's quite an eccentric character, but without his chocolate factory, like the original film, that when you watch that film, you want to go into that factory and you want to be in there. Take that element out of it, and there's not much there to play with. It's basically like the Jurassic Park sequels. You take the park out of the Jurassic Park, then basically you've just got like a monster movie. The idea that the theme park goes bad is the sort of why you go to watch it. You want to see these dinosaurs coming out of this theme park. So it felt like that bit. So you take the chocolate factory element out of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. There wasn't really much there to play with for me to get really invested in it. But people had fun with it. People loved it. My girlfriend loved it. She listens to going to work and stuff.
Oh, sorry guys, lost Paul there. Are you back, mate?
No, I'm here. Yeah, it didn't work for me, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'll one of my honourable mentions. I'm not sure. I don't know whether this was on your top 10 or not, Paul, but it was a recent watch anyway. Gran Turismo, directed by Neil Druckmann. Neil Blomkamp Druckmann.
Yes.
No, not a Last of Us sequel. But yeah, man, this was right. The reason why I watched this film is Neil Blomkamp. I'm a fan of this director, big style. I wasn't a fan of his last film, Demonic, but I actually think Elysium's like pretty underrated. I really, really enjoy that film. It reminded me a lot of The Creator, which we'll absolutely get into later on. But like Elysium and Chappie, like I do think they're quite underrated. And obviously District 9's in my eyes a bit of a sci-fi classic at this point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Neil, oh my God. Neil Blomkamp originally actually had a pretty awesome sequel idea to Aliens that I've spoke about countless times with Badger on some of our past streams. But yeah, Gran Turismo, man, pretty good. I was pretty worried for the first 10 minutes. I was like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this. But I tell you what, by the end of it, I was like, you know what? That was a really good film. Really well directed, well acted for the most part. Like I like David Harbour. I like that, we've got this like
the father figure.
Yeah, but like just David Harbour in general, who's been this character actor for years, and he gets his break in Stranger Things. Now he's like a full-on household name. Yeah. And I just like him. He's not the stereotypical leading man, but he is a leading man in my eyes. He's got charisma for days. Then like Orlando Bloom at the start, like I was a little bit like, oh my God, this is a bit over the top. But by the end of it, and when you realize that these businessmen are a bit over the top, I was like, hey, he suits it. He suits it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed Gran Turismo. It's a great sports movie. I'm not a huge racer fan. I'm not a huge racer gamer. I've played Gran Turismo, of course, one of the most biggest games ever, but I'm not a big fan into racing games. And I was wondering, how do you make a Gran Turismo movie when you first announced it? And then they announced that it was basically a story about someone who plays the game, who's amazing at the game, who becomes a racer. That intrigued me. I was like, oh, that's a cracking way of doing it. And it's a true story as well, which I think helps as well. And the fact that the guy who the film is based on helped do the racing stunts in the movie and helped coordinate it and stuff. Yeah, I think it was good. It hit me in the feels a bit as well in parts of it. It was a fun time. I enjoyed it.
You know who's absolutely brilliant in it? The father, who played. Oh, what the hell's the actor's name? Jarmond Honsu, is it?
I know who you mean.
He's
got a hard name to pronounce.
Yes, he's like being in Blood Diamond and stuff like that. And
he's that guy out of Guardians of the Galaxy. He goes, who? That's why I was know him from.
Yeah, him. And yeah, he was recently in Rebel Moon with absolutely like 0 lines in that one. So I'm hoping he gets some dialogue in the next one. But anyway, yeah, this guy's amazing. Like when they're in that trailer and they're having that conversation, and I never really bought into the fact that you were doing something for yourself, and he starts breaking down, and I just thought, you know what, you've got me there, you've got me. And if a film manages to do that, you're good in my books. To be honest, I regretted giving it 3.5 stars. I'm probably going to go back and give it 4 stars because it's just a solid film. Like you say, it's a good sports film, if anything, as well. And without beating you over the head that it's a PlayStation game, I thought the little bits of implications that he put in, like really worked with the film, like the on-screen like sort of like countdowns and positions and stuff like that. And it was like, I don't know, it was good. It was good, man. And
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
the other thing it just like confirms is Neil Blomkamp's a good director, and he should be not like, I think after that demonic and the whole thing with like aliens, because he was really sour about that, and I think that might have hurt him in Hollywood a little bit. You know, like Ridley Scott was on an absolute rampage with Neil Blomkamp at one time, probably because he had a better idea than Ridley's Prometheus trilogy. But yeah, mate, have we got another one? I've got another honourable mention you want to fling in?
Yeah, I can throw one in, man. Where are we? I'm going to go with Saw X. Another honourable mention. Have you seen this? Yeah. Have you watched it yet? Yeah. I'm a huge. You haven't watched it. I won't spoil it then. I'm a huge fan of the Saw franchise. I always have. I always tell the story of how I went to watch the first one on just like a whim on an afternoon because me and my mates were bored. I was going to check out this new Saw. I remember that reveal at the end, that twist. It's still one of my favourite twists in movie history, where I literally could have got up on my seat and clapped. It was that good of a twist. And I've followed the franchise all the way through. I like the first three as like its own sort of trilogy, and then it sort of started going off the rails a bit. And then I was like, they obviously tried Spiral, and I thought it was okay at best. Didn't really hit with audience or critics or anything. I suddenly went back to the well and did Saw 10. I was like, oh, that's Saw 10, another one. They're going with it again. Man, like these films, like the original sequels, used to come out 1 year after the other. So they're writing these like, let's get this film out, got to get it. They obviously took the time with this. They went back to the well with the original one. It's sort of like a prequel to 2, sequel to 1, so it slots in between the first and second movie. And it's basically like a character study of Jigsaw, John Kramer, for the first hour and a half, hour of the movie, isn't it? You sort of, it's explaining why he sort of does what he does, and people will say like he doesn't need that backstory, but I think you needed that for that film to work. And I thought the traps were effective. They were some of the better ones from the franchise. I liked Tobin Bell was on absolute A-game form as Jigsaw. He's been doing it for years, but he hasn't done it for a while. But he slipped right back into that role. The same with I forget the actress who plays Amanda, something short, I think. But she slipped right back into the role. I thought it was a great sequel, and now when I want to have a little binge of Saw, I can go 1, 10, 1.5 if you like. Saw 1, Saw 10, Saw 3, and have a sort of 2, 3. I've sort of like a quadrilogy now. Yeah, I thought it was great, and they're already greenlit 11. If they can do it again, I don't know. I think that's coming out this year. Yeah, 2024. Saw 11. I think they're gearing for this year.
It must have had faith in the movie beforehand if they had that sequel greenlit straight away. Saying it like, I'm a lot like you, Paul. Like the first 3's it for me, sort of thing. Like I don't really I haven't watched many of them after that, in fairness. But yeah, I was going to try and get this one in before this stream. Like there's a couple of films I haven't seen, which we'll get to later on. But yeah, man, we've just got Playtendo guy. Hey, mate, how's it going,
mate?
Saw X was a really cool surprise. Only watched the original beforehand, and it really got me into the series. Only one I didn't like was Jigsaw. That's fair, man.
Yeah, Jigsaw was that sort of attempt at a reboot before Spiral. I didn't like Jigsaw. I didn't like 3D or the final chapter. Quite like 6. Didn't like 5. 4's okay. But yeah, Pete, a Playtendo guy, was sort of reviewing them on his letterbox. Now he was watching them just before 10 come out, and I was reading his reviews, and he was really enjoying them. Yeah, it's a good series. It is a good series. It just sort of doesn't have the staying power of the first couple, but this one does for me. Saw 10 really does holds up with the first couple.
Cool, man. I will get round to it. Definitely. It's I won't be watching the ones prior to it, but I've heard good things about this one.
You don't need to, which is good. You can literally watch 1, 2, and then go into this if you wanted to.
Oh, nice one. I haven't seen the first 2 for a couple of years, so I'll get into that definitely. 100%. My next quick honourable mention is No Hard Feelings with Jennifer Lawrence. Now, I am not like a massive comedy person, or should I say, they haven't made any that I've enjoyed of late. To be fair, I think we had our like heyday, but everyone gets very offended these days, so I think they're a bit scared of it. But yeah, this was cool, man. This just reminded me of like a a film from like 2008 that we just like don't get anymore.
Super bad 40-year-old virgin, that sort of.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is with this as well, like, I'm not gonna lie, for the longest time I wasn't the biggest fan of Jennifer Lawrence, like, but recently, I don't know, like, this has just like made me like her. And no, it's not because she gets all of her kit off. I know someone's gonna say that in the comments, but no.
Does she? What film's it called again?
No Hard Feelings. Have you not seen this one, Paul?
I've not watched this one. I remember everyone raving about it. I just never got around to it. I will watch as soon as people saying it's sort of that raunchy comedy that, like you said, from the 2000s. That is my sort of comedy. That is what I grew up on. That is why. I was gonna say that is why a film we will probably talk about at some point didn't work for me, because it wasn't my type of comedy. Right. But yeah, I do want to check this one out, and I do like Jennifer Lawrence, to be fair.
Mate, I'd recommend it. Like, don't get me wrong, like, it's just like if you've got like a spare hour and a half to kill, like, just whack it on. You'll have a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was another honourable mention for comedy. I'm just checking. I don't want to mention anything else before Andy jumps on stream. Have you got anything else, Paul? Just quick fire.
Yeah. You know me now by now, man. I'm a massive fan of Japanese anime. A film called Suzume will come out at the start of the year. I believe it's the same director of Your Name. I'm blanking on the other one he did, but they're two big, high people, anime films that people love. And this one everyone was raving about it online. My local cinema had a sort of a limited show. Me and my friend, who's also into a massive fan of anime, went to watch it. Fantastic. It's basically a story of getting over a death, how you deal with a death in the family. I'm trying not to spoil it. Yeah, that is basically sort of the story. It's a girl who befriends a lad who ends up going to like this ghost world, and it's her dealing with how she lost her mom and stuff like this. And it's quite a complex story. It's one of them films you can't just stick on for. You've got to be watching it. You've got to be listening to the dialogue. You've got to be paying attention. But the animation, man, absolute beautiful animation. Incredible anime. People throw these like, the Cross the Spider-Verse and all the Super Mario, the animation Turtles. Like, this 2D animation for me still peak. Like, I prefer 2D Japanese animation over 3D Western animation, and it absolutely is. It's a beautiful movie. It's one of them films when it's animation, you forget you're watching animation because the characters are so lifelike. The music in it's beautiful, and it's a good gateway for if you want to get into anime and you want to see what it's all about. It's sort of the film, this Suzume, and a couple of the others that he did beforehand that I can't remember the name of the director. I'm sorry, it's a long Japanese name. But it's a good gateway film if you want to see what this Japanese animation is all about. It's a good film to sort of see what they do and how they tell stories and their visual style.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Tarek there. Thank you.
Yeah, Tarek's on it. He's
Makoto Shinkai. Thank you very much. I was so blanking then.
But yeah, mate, anime is having a bit of a time in Hollywood as well. Recently, I think it was. I don't know whether last week. It's probably still in the box office. What is it? The Boy and the Heron.
Yes, I think we've just had it released over here. I think it came out in the States, the dubbed version anyway, just before Christmas. We've got it now. I think it's only on cinemas a couple of weeks. Well, have you seen the cast for that? Have you seen the cast for the dub for that?
I haven't. No.
Robert Pattinson's in it. There's all sort of
way.
There's so many like big heavy hitter names who have dubbed it, and you'll get the purists who are like, oh, we don't like dub, we like the purist subtitled Japanese version. But apparently the dub and the cast they've got, like I said, Robert Pattinson, there's a couple of others big hitters who do a pretty good job at translating the story into English. So I'm looking to check it out in the next week. I want to, now work's died down and I've got a bit of free time, I want to go and check it out on the big screen before it leaves.
Cool, man. Come on. Oh my God, look who's decided to join us.
Well,
how we doing, Andy?
I'm good, man. Happy New Year to the both of you.
Yeah, you too, man. How's it going?
Yeah, good, man. Good. It actually went quite swimmingly tonight. I've got I'm double barreling here. I've got sensible water and I've got the last of the New Year booze as well. Oh, of course, there's away. So,
guys,
so cheers to you all.
In the camera, bloody hell, cheers. I'm like back to front. Like to me, this is like 9 a.m. in the morning. Like I'm about to go to work in 2 hours. So I've got my coffee straight up, going in my veins. But anyway, Andy, 2023. How was your 2023 World of Cinema? Was that a good year for you, film-wise?
I thought it was, mate. I thought there was plenty of good stuff there. Obviously, we'll get into it in just a few moments. But yeah, I thought it was decent. I don't think I did catch a bit of the stream. I had it on my phone as I was kind of in the background as I was getting set up there. Once I got the girls to bed, and I kind of echo what Paul said. Like there was nothing that I really. I mean, for one, I don't get the chance to go to the cinema all that often. I do pretty well, but if I'm going to the cinema, then I'm choosing something that I'm probably interested in and probably going to like. So the chances of being let down are diminished as a result of that. So there wasn't anything that was grossly offensive that I seen at the cinema. A few letdowns that I watched on home video and stuff. But yeah, we'll get into the top 10. But I thought it was a pretty good year. Obviously, I think the highlight, the big spectacles, the whole Barbenheimer, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
That was a total phenomenon.
We'll get into that.
That kind of that was the shot in the arm that cinema needed, really, wasn't it? I don't think there's anything quite as big as those two movies post-COVID that really kind of brought cinema back, made it a thing again to go to the cinema. So I think that was the biggest success, really, of 2023 for me.
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, that is a good transition into our top 10s. So let's just get into it, guys. I'm going to go first. And what we'll do is we'll rapid fire from 10 till 6, Andy. Then from 5 to 1, we'll go one each. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can I just interject with a couple of things? Firstly,
here we go.
Firstly, nothing to do with films. How on earth did you manage to get a coffee from Greg's at 7:30 at night?
Right. So I went in.
What are you doing? Why are you drinking coffee at 7:30?
This was like at 10. Mate, I'm going to work at I've been asleep.
Okay.
Okay. I'm on the night shift.
The night shift, right? Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, absolutely. I went into Greg's and this was 7:10, right? I was like, I didn't think it was going to be open, but I was like, you know what? I'll give it a go. It might be. Went there. They were open. Everyone was pissed off. The manager was chucking shelves about. I was like, what's going on here? They were like, yeah, I think they've got new hours, so they're open till 7:30 on the night time. Mate, I live in Darlington. It's a town. It's not a city or anything like that. No one apart from me is buying coffees or sausage rolls at 7:30 at night time.
Have you got one of them post offices that double as everything else?
Petrol stations are becoming hubs for fast food now, aren't they? You can get Greg's all under one roof.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, man, not to be here 2 minutes and take over, but maybe do you fancy smashing through some of the comments? Because there's quite a few comments there, so maybe just even read them out just to
100%. 2 seconds.
Into it.
Sorry. Whoa.
You can skip mine out.
We've got, what's that, Trekkernaut?
Trekkernaut was on my stream on the Boxing Day one. He was very present. So how's it going, Trekkernaut?
How's it going, man?
Thanks for joining us.
But I think that's all up to date on the comments on my side, Andy.
See, I can see more. Oh, maybe it's because they're through. I can see. Do you want me to put them up?
Yeah, if you could do, yeah, mate.
So we've got Cheeks. I think I can put these up anyway. Maybe not. I thought I could. I think when we did this before, I could actually put them on screen, mate, but I can't can't now for some reason, but I can read them out if you want. I don't
Yeah,
know why
you
they're
can
not
do,
came
man.
on then. So you've got Lockdown Stash saying hello. You've got my son sings it. I think that's in reference
Peaches.
to Peaches.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
assuming. Play Tendo guy, evening chaps. He saw X was a really good, cool surprise. Only watched the original beforehand, and it really got me into the series. Only one I didn't like was Jigsaw.
Mhm.
He follows that up with Amanda aged more than Tobin Bell. He looks the same as he did 20 years ago. Great stream,
Does.
guys. We'll catch the rest on catch up. Take care. Cheers, Pete from Platendo
Cheers,
guy.
Pete,
And
man.
you want to say in relation to Saw? I'm not an expert in Saw by any means.
I'm not at all either. But yeah, we caught up there, Andy.
Just Lockdown Stash is saying Makoto Shinkai. Is that?
Oh, that
Yeah,
was in relation.
I was blanking on the director of the film, Suzume. Obviously, you come to the rest.
Right,
good,
okay.
Good guy.
Studio Ghibli's dubs are brilliant, he's saying.
Yes.
And that's us pretty much caught up, mate.
Cool, man. So I had I've got like these little visualizations, but they're going to take up the entire screen. So I'm just going to pop them up quickly. Right, guys. So my 10 is Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig. I had a really good time with this one. A lot of fun. Was grinning all the way through it. It was part of the Barbenheimer experience. I did Oppenheimer first, then Barbie, and it was just like, it was amazing. It was an experience, man. Totally. My number 9, Talk to Me, directed by these two YouTubers that just sort of blew me away when I saw it. Very original horror movie. One of the best possession movies we've had this year, and we've had a lot of them. My number 8, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This blew me away big style. I was not expecting how good it actually was. And like anyone who knows me knows I'm a big Trent Reznor fan and Atticus Ross. They're two of my favorite composers. And if you'd have told me at the start of the year, they're going to be doing 2 scores, one for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated film, and the other one, David Fincher, The Killer, I'd be like, yeah, David Fincher, The Killer is going to be like my favorite thing of the year, soundtrack wise. We'll get into the film later. But yeah, wow, it absolutely blew me away. The animation style, I love how messy it is. Yeah, it goes for that Spider-Man animate across the Spider-Verse style, but it's even a bit more messy, I feel. It's just totally cool, man. Like the way they did the city and drew the city and stuff like that. The fact that it reminded me of like a beat down Gotham. It was just like so gnarly the way they drew it and stuff. Lots of steam, lots of neon. I love that. But yeah, the fact that they got actual like 4 teenagers to voice the turtles, awesome. Yeah. Makes a hell of a difference. Treat. Yeah, man, that was cool. That was cool. Love turtles. My number 7, Infinity Pool. Directed by Brandon Cronenberg. Is it David Cronenberg's son? I think it is.
Yeah.
Mate, this might end up going up and up and up the more I watch it. I've watched Infinity Pool 3 times this year already.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, once by myself, one with my missus, and I got the uncut version recently on Steelbook, which cost me a little fortune, but it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, Infinity Pool is just like the way it's shot is just like absolutely breathtaking. And with Cronenberg's first film as well, Possessor, this is solidified. I will be watching everything this director makes going forward. Yeah. He takes technology and it's a bit,
out there.
It's very out there, and it doesn't really give you the technology isn't explained. You've just sort of got to go with it.
Yeah,
totally. But if you're prepared to do that, you're gonna find yourself in a really like headfuck sort of film. Like
it's one of them films. Sorry, I was gonna say it's one of them films where I like these films where it makes me think, what would I do in this situation?
Yeah, totally. And I've got a big thing for films that deal with like wealth and what that does to people. And this is like a lot like Triangle of Sadness the year before. This is a much like sort of darker version of that a little bit. What do you do when you got loads of money? But yeah, my number 6, When Evil Lurks. Now, has any of you guys seen this one yet?
I hate that I've not watched this yet because I've just not
Paul,
got round to watching him. This could put up this. Everyone keeps saying to me, all my friends, this will be on your top 10, but it's not because unfortunately, I just never got round to seeing it.
So we've had this like weird year of possessor films. Like we've had a lot of possession films come out. We had Talk to Me, we had Exorcist Believer, and we had When Evil Lurks. And you know, like 2 out of the 3 are phenomenal. But like I saw Talk to Me, and I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be the best possession film of the year. Like there was a lot of hype surrounding it, and when I actually finally got around to watching it, I was like, yeah, believe the hype, it's mint. But yeah, then When Evil Lurks comes round, which is like this Spanish film that I've heard nothing about, but like these glowing reviews on Instagram and stuff like that. So I was like, right, let's have a look. Holy shit, Paul, you need to watch this film, mate. It is so good. It's very original take on the possession subgenre. Like I don't really want to spoil it for you or anything, but I won't. But like one of the like main aspects of this film is that possession is pretty much not a regular occurrence, but it's happened enough times for people to be aware that it's a thing that goes on. And they've got 3 specific rules for the possession, which I won't ruin here, but I highly, highly, highly recommend it. One of the best horror films of the year and one of my favorite films of the year. Right. That was my number 6. Right. That was rapid fire from 10 to 6. Guys, have we got any comments on my list so far? Is it a bag of shit? Why have you got Barbie in there? Paul, why do you hate women?
Let's address the toxic masculinity just now.
Don't put me in there. Don't put me in that category, man.
I'm joking. Paul, by any chance, was this the comedy that wasn't working for you?
Yeah, and that's it. Like it's one of them films where like it's the biggest money making film of the year. People love it. They absolutely adore this film. Everyone liked it, and I felt like I was like, what am I not getting about it? Like what am I missing? And I think it is the comedy just didn't work for me. It's like what we said at the start, and with everyone's list, there's going to be films here that are missing because, like we said, and Andy said, there's films that you might not even check out because you think it might not be for you. And I had that with Barbie all year. I was like, this doesn't look like it's a film I'm going to enjoy. But just because of the hype and the Barbie and everything, I did go and check it out. And even my own girlfriend who loved it said, you aren't going to like this film. Right. Well, film Twitter said I would. So I'm going to go check it out nonetheless. And yeah, it wasn't a film for me. I'm not saying it's a bad film, and I understand why people love it. But for me, I just walked down. I was like, yeah, it's a Barbie movie. Do you know what I mean? I love Margot Robbie. I love the cast is amazing. But it's just I just forgot about it instantly. It just didn't work for me, unfortunately. It is just one of them occurrences where it's a film. 90% of people seem to love, but I seem to be in like that 10%, probably less than that. It's probably like 5% of people who I just didn't gel with it at all, unfortunately.
Just to sort of justify my reasons for having it in the top 10. As a film in like filmmaking as a thing, I think it's like a 10 out of 10 sort of thing that we don't really see films like this anymore on a production level. So like the sets and stuff like that, I'm a real big sucker for sets, practical sets and stuff like that. And this really went to town on the practicality of the film for that first half of it. And like the comedy did sort of work for me, like especially like when I knew it was going to work for me was that first beach scene where all the Kens are just like beaching each other off. Like I was like, yeah, this is stupid, but this is like my sort of stupid. I know this is going to be a bit for me. And just as far as like the soundtrack goes and stuff, like I've had it on in the background, in private.
The soundtrack's an absolute banger.
It's brilliant, mate. Like that Dua Lipa song's been on all bloody year, and I ain't getting sick of it. I can't lie.
You were talking about Oscar, not like I think Paul drew a blank trying to think of like what could be Oscar worthy for best song, but if
Got to be Ken.
if I'm just Ken doesn't win it, mate.
Yeah,
I'm right.
Totally.
I'm writing.
Yeah.
It's got to be It's got to be enough, surely.
It is enough. It is enough. But yeah, man, I had a really good time with Barbie. We might end up getting onto Barbie a little bit later.
Yeah. Bring your list back up again. What else did you have on there? Let's have a look.
Yeah. 2 seconds, sorry. In future, I'll make this.
Oh yeah, Turtles was an absolute banger of a film. Like, I'm a big fan of Turtles. I grew up with Turtles, the 1991, the video games, the cartoon, and wasn't a big fan of the Michael Bay ones. And as soon as I seen this looking like Spider-Man, I was like, yeah, that's obviously what they're doing. Obviously what they've gone for. It works. Why not? It's basically I sort of call it a motion comic. It's like a comic move. It's like the way they do it. It's like panels moving and stuff. Like it's hard to explain, but it is like a motion comic, and it just works so well. And the humor in that film, like Ice Cube in that film, man, some of his lines absolute crack me up. And he goes, "I got a horse for the foot," and all this.
It's brilliant.
I loved it. And they leave it on such a cliffhanger. So that sequel needs to hurry up because get my boy in there. Let's see him.
I can't wait to see what they do with him. Like, I honestly can't say what this version of his what is it, Shredder he's gonna look like. And mate, I can't wait. It was just one of them where it pure shocked me, and like I've watched it a couple of times now, and I unfortunately only got the Blu-ray for some stupid reason, but it's definitely a film that I'm gonna get on 4K because I imagine it looks amazing. But, yeah, I'll just get my list back. Andy, did you see Turtles?
I did, mate. Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. However, I took my oldest daughter to see it, who's 4, and it was it was a Trojan horse. You know, it was like I just wanted to see it myself, and that was my. It was a case of like I'm not going to get time to see this, but if I dress it up as like a daddy daughter day, I'll get to see Turtles. So we went. She did enjoy it, but you know that way. Well, I know you don't have kids, you won't, but. It's like when you're watching a film with a young kid, you are taking it in, but it's not the same. You're not as immersed because you're watching what they're doing, and sometimes you have to go to the toilet and all the rest of it. So as I was watching that, I was like, "This is bloody good!" Like, but I just couldn't fully get it the way you would have got it. So, and I've just not had a chance to watch it again. But I could feel the vibe, you know, that it was working on screen, and I did enjoy it. But yeah, I can't even really remember it now, if that makes sense. Like, but. I did enjoy it, but that's why it's not on my top 10. Just because I feel maybe had I seen it myself and watched it again, it might have made it, but I just feel I didn't quite take it in enough to properly rank it. You know.
See, the thing is, I'm not even like the biggest Turtles fan. Like Paul, I think you're way more into Turtles as a fan than what I am.
No, I'm a 35-year-old man. Of course I'm not.
But yeah, like I love the first movie from was it 89?
Yeah.
Or 90?
I revisited that.
1990.
That was the first film I seen in the cinema, the first ever. So it was quite funny for me because I was taking my daughter to see it, and I was thinking that was my the original was my first experience, you know.
I think it works on like every single level for me in that film, and it's somehow really emotional in that middle section when they go to the house. It always gets me.
Oh, don't.
Oh yeah, it's so bad. Like when they do the drawing of was it Leo that he's like asleep, isn't he? Yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And he's getting like bathed, April O'Neil's like in the bath and stuff like that with the water. Like,
it's when they all go in the forest and the summon Splinter sort of presents, and he's like, "I love you, my sons," and Michelangelo's crying and shit. I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
I was like,
I love it.
When I put it on, it was on Freevee. I've not got it, so it was on like Freevee. I think they're all on Freevee, like the free channel on Amazon. For anyone that doesn't know. Anyway, I was working from home one day, and the kids weren't in nursery, and I like having something on in the background just to kind of, you know, whether it's a DVD commentary or something. Anyway, stuck Turtles on because I thought that's perfect. I don't have to sit and really immerse myself in it, but I can just have it on because I was in the mood after seeing the animated one. And I was like saying to the girls, like, "Oh, he's like, oh, wait, you see the Turtles? This is going to be good in that." And I've not watched it in like 20 odd years, and I fired it on, and like quickly I realised they look absolutely terrifying because they're used to seeing clean
Animated.
Cocomelon animation, right? And then I brought these hideous Jim Henson like Turtles into the world on a 65-inch screen, and I could see my daughter looking at it, but she couldn't like take her eyes off it. half terrified, half like totally intrigued.
What's
kind of
that
thing.
giant, horrible lizard?
Yeah.
So it was funny thinking, God, like made me realise how how desensitized we are, maybe because we grew up with like physical creations on screen.
Yeah,
and like
100%.
and just how slack people were with showing people stuff when they were young, whereas now we're much more on the ball with that, and all the animation styles clean, and they consider what's in kids' content, whereas back in the day, they were like, RoboCop, yeah, let's turn RoboCop into a kids' TV show, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it was interesting, but it holds up well, the original, I think.
It really does, because it's got the emotion there. Like, if you look at it in a 2023 sort of vibe, yeah, some of you can tell it's practical effects, but like it still holds up. Like, if it didn't have that emotion there, I don't think it would be as rewatchable as what it is. And what I always find funny is that there's like there's a young Sam Rockwell right at the start of it, isn't there? Isn't he in the little base?
He's like the gang. He's the guy with the ciggies, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the guy with the cigs, yeah.
Regular or menthol?
Love it. Absolutely love it. But yeah, guys, do one of you want to go ahead with a rapid fire 10 to 6? I think we've talked about most of my 10 to 6. I'll just get it up quickly. Yeah, we've rapid fired mine. Obviously, there was Infinity Pool. I don't know if any of that is on your lists, guys, but we've spoken about that one as well.
Not seen it.
But yeah, Paul, do you want to go next with 10
for
to
it, man,
6?
yeah.
I think your list may have changed a little bit. So when I bring your list up on screen, it might be a bit different. I think you've changed it about a bit. But
let's have a look.
Boom, Paul's top 10. Is this changed? Or is that...
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No. Ooh, what have I added in there? Something's changed there. I think I've flipped a few around. But anyway, what's missing there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3.
I've got 10 there.
Yeah, I've just flipped a few around due to like rewatches.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool.
But I'm going to go off this one though. To be fair, so because they're my top 10 favorite films of the year. Let's be honest. So we'll use that one. That's easier. Yeah. It's 10. Evil Dead Rise. Massive fan of the Evil Dead franchise. Always have been. It's the original one's one of the first horror movies I ever watched. It's one of the first memories of watching a horror film. And it terrified the shit out of me as a kid. But as I grew up, I just grew to love the franchise. And they had the remake in 2013, which I can't say it anymore because we're in 2024. I always said it was still my favorite horror film of the last decade. I can't say that now. But yeah, it's still my favorite horror film of whatever time period you want to say. Anyway, we had Evil Dead Rise. What was the director's name? Lee. I'm blanking on the director's name. But what I loved about it is the fact that it was going to go straight to streaming, and they had a test audience, and audiences were praising it, and they were like, this obviously is working, so we got a theatrical run of it, which it was great. And I went to watch it quite early on the day it come out. It was like 10 in the morning, go to watch an Evil Dead Rise. But the cinema was the cinema was quite busy, but I could tell I was in a room with Evil Dead fans, you know what I mean? Because people aren't going at 10 in the morning to watch Evil Dead, you know what I mean? So, and you could tell everyone's having a ball. It didn't quite reach the heights of the remake for me in terms of shock value, but it still kept up with the Evil Dead consistency. I don't think there's a bad film in that franchise. I like that they changed the location. Obviously, the location's normally like a log cabin, apart from the third one. And they changed it to like a apartment, like a block of flats for the UK, and apartments if you're American. I love that change up of scenery. It freshened up the sort of formula. I loved the lady who plays the lead Deadite in it, who has become like a household name in the horror community. Everyone loves this actress who played this lead Deadite. She was awesome in it, the mum of the kids. I loved it. It just keeps the franchise fresh. And it's one of them franchises where you can do anything with it. You know, all you've got to do is put that book somewhere. Someone's got to read from it and shit it's the fan. They can take it to any time period, any place in the world. And, you know, I believe they are doing another one after this, and they've greenlit another one. They can take it somewhere else. It's just something that works. Yeah, the gore, the shock value of it was awesome. It wasn't as gory as 2013.
No. It
but
gave it a good run for its money, though.
It gave it a good run. I loved it. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one now, and it's still up there for me. They haven't done a bad one. So yeah, Evil Dead Rise. Bring the list up. What do we have next?
I had a crazy idea there when you were talking about the book thing, Paul. You're saying like it's one of those franchises that has a what would you call it? A mechanism almost that you can just throw into scenarios, and it gives you like auto generates a movie for you, a bit like Predator. Like people talk about Predator, saying you've got the Predator, just stick him in any time period, any location. And I thought a crossover. Imagine the Predator went somewhere and was like tearing up Nazis, and then he found this Nazi who was into the occult, and he's got the Book of the Dead, and then the next thing the Predator's fighting off demons. Was that just me that wants to say that?
Say no more. We're getting that written. We're copywriting that. That's us.
Imagine a Deadite Predator. God.
Oh man.
We're just a Predator taking out a load of Deadites would get me going.
That would be
that'd be
yeah.
But you all right, Gareth? How's it going, mate? Video tasties.
How's it going, man?
The legend of streaming. Gareth.
Yes. Seen him and Jim tearing up the MK arcade machines. Yeah, man.
He's got more. He's got more live streams under his belt than you have copies of Batman Forever, mate.
Yeah, that's maybe true, or maybe not. We'll see. But yes, Paul. Number 9.
Number 9, John Wick 4. Loved it again. Loved this movie. I'm a big fan of the John Wick franchise. I'm a big fan of action cinema, Hong Kong action cinema specifically, which John Wick has always, it's wore that on its sleeve. It borrows elements from that. So I've loved all the 3 and 4 was coming out. I remember the 3-hour runtime. People were like, 3 hours of John Wick. How can you make a 3-hour John Wick film? Well, for me, they did it, and then some. I've seen people saying it's too long. It could be shorter. Sure, but for me, it felt like it was the director's last go of it. It felt like a finale, and it felt like if this is going to be this is going to be the last one, the one throw everything got it, give us all the ideas you had and throw it on screen, all the stunts, all the fights, give us all, and it just worked so well for me. Some of the fights in this, like once it gets going, that first scene in Japan, in Tokyo, with like the samurai SWAT team and that, I was like all in on it. That top-down scene, which plays sort of like a video game, one of the best film scenes of the year for me. Like I was just literally sat watching it, like smiling the whole time. I think it wrapped up the John Wick quadrilogy really well. I do not want to see another one, even though they seem to be teasing that they want to do a 5th, but they don't need to. That for me is a perfect 1, 2, 3, 4. We're done with this. They can do all the spin-offs they want, but I just think it wrapped up that story so well, and that a character which always felt comic booky, but in the first one is a little bit more grounded. He really went the comic book route with 4. It just felt like a big sort of graphic novel brought to life, and I was in for it the whole time. And I've watched it like 2 or 3 times. It's long films, so with it being a 3-hour film, you can't really watch them all the time unless you don't work and you don't really have much of a life. But I've managed to watch it like 2 or 3 times this last year in 2023, and every time I just have a grin ear to ear watching that.
Yeah, it's great. Like I'll get into some of my thoughts about it a little bit later, but like all I will say is I'll absolutely agree that it's time to move on. It's time to put the franchise to bed now. It was a perfect way to wrap it all up. Do as many sequels, like you said, as you want. Spin-offs with Ana de Armas. But yeah, like as like 4 films, it just like escalated so well. I actually think the 4th one's the best one out of the quadrilogy, if I'm being honest. Let me just bring this up quickly. Video taste. Predator wouldn't last 5 minutes in Liverpool. No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't.
Not after what happened last night in there. We won't get into it.
But I'll get your list back up now, Paul.
I'll rapid fire a bit quicker because I feel like I'm rabbiting on a little bit too much. But bring it up and I'll fly through What have we got? Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Yeah, another near perfect trilogy of comic book movies. James Gunn, absolute on A game for all three of these movies. Again, like John Wick 4, just wrapped them character's story up perfectly. I cried. I went through all the emotions. I cried, laughed, went through every emotion with this film. Awesome fight scenes, and for a sort of franchise, when I'm saying that, I mean the MCU, which really seems to be going through this. I don't want to get
going
into
through a
it,
phase.
but it's going through its ups and downs, more downs and ups, and this was a big up for the MCU this year, and comic book movies in general. I loved it. I thought just wrapping that story up with them characters. Rocket Raccoon is a household name, and me crying over a CGI character that I thought they were going to kill off was like, they did it. Like, I was crying. Like, I was in the cinema crying. Like, I'm not joking. Like, it was ridiculous. I felt like a right idiot. But I loved it. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy 1. What a perfect trilogy, and the household names now. Like 10 years ago, no one on planet Earth, apart from the real sweaties, knew what Guardians of the Galaxy was, and now it's a household name, and I think it's a great movie trilogy. And Volume 3 wrapped it up perfectly.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you said. It was definitely the lifeline that the MCU needed at the time. And I think because of that film, people have still got some saving grace in the MCU. But yeah, Andy, any thoughts on Guardians? I know we might come to it a little bit later on your list as well.
I just realised it's on my list. I didn't think it was on my list, but it is. No, so I enjoyed it also. Kind of echoing what you guys were saying. Like, I am someone who's got the whole the superhero burnout thing, and I love superhero films. I'll keep watching them. I watched Blue Beetle the other night. I got it from Cinema Paradiso, and you know that way when I was going to put it on, I actually felt tired. I was like, why do I keep doing this? So I don't even want to fucking watch this. But I was like, and there's no disrespect to like comic book movies or that, but I was like, it's almost like habit because it's what I like. I like the genre. Yeah. But I kind of knew before I watched it would be paint by numbers, and it was. There was stuff that was like good about it, but it was like, it wasn't. It's one of 15 superhero films I've watched over the years, now. Anyway, I digress. But so I went into Guardians of the Galaxy, like what Paul said. The first two are great. First one's probably better than the second, but it's the James Gunn, it's the ensemble. It was lightning in a bottle, and I kind of thought, given the way the MCU's trending, this might miss the mark. And it's long as well. It's like, what is it, 2.5, 240 or something?
2.5. Yeah.
I thought this might actually be be a bit of a dud, but I was totally wrong. Like Paul said, and the fact that it was based around Rocket Raccoon, going in, I thought, is it, something centered around Rocket, is that going to hold you for 2 hours 40? But it did. It just tied everything well together. The comedy was still there. I felt that they found new elements of comedy within it. It wasn't just regurgitating. Some of the scenes were just really funny. Like when they come to Earth, that gave them a new canvas to have a laugh with. The fact that they went to what was supposed to be Dave turned on its head.
Dave Bautista and that Pom Clemeth together. Well, oh my god, them two cracking me up in that film. Yeah,
it's,
totally.
Just a great finale, and there's not many superhero movies, certainly within the MCU anyway, that can honestly claim that they have a flawless trilogy. Really, would you agree with that? Maybe Captain America. But
yeah, 100%. Guardians 2's went up since I've watched it. Like when I went back to rewatch it, there's certain things that pop out more in that film. Like that film's all about the Yondu, Chris Pratt connection. Like that's what really sells that film. And you know what, as well, like Chris Pratt, like sometimes I can just like be a bit coasting with Chris Pratt because he's in so much now, and he sort of plays one note a little bit, and you don't see much emotion out of him. But in Guardians 3, holy shit, man! When like Rocket's on the deathbed basically, and he's like screaming out for his friend, it works massively. It got me in the feels, man. But I'll get your list back up. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, where are we? The creator. That we're on the creator. Yeah. Loved it again. I loved all these movies. I keep saying it. This come to my attention solely because of Gareth Edwards and his connection to Rogue One. that was what I seen that, and I thought, you know, they said he's doing his own sort of sci-fi movie. I'm like, take my money, I'm there day one. I can't really say much about it because I've only seen it the once, and I don't think I can remember it, but I can't really talk a lot about it because I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
But I remember just, you know, the criticisms there with the creator where it borrowed all these elements from all these other sci-fi films, which I did see when I was watching it. It's like, that's from this, that's from that, that's from that. But it still worked as a story, and I'm a sucker for dystopian sci-fi anyway. And you know, so you give me a story like that, like Rogue One or Blade Runner, like that sort of aesthetic, and I'll be there for it. But I loved the dynamic between the father figure and the daughter.
Yeah.
I thought they worked really well together. I love the world that Gareth Edwards created in The Creator. It hit me in the feels again. If a film hits me in the feels, and that automatically is do I put that on my top 10?
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, I need to watch it again. It was in my top 5, but I dropped it down because I watched a couple of other films that we'll get to that I've just thought are ones I'll rewatch more and stick with me more. But I believe it comes out on 4K Monday, The Creator.
Monday?
I think, or the Monday after.
You might be right. I think it's definitely January when it comes out, but I didn't have it on pre-order or anything like that. Yeah,
but I've got a HMV gift card sat right there that I got for Christmas, and that is what it's getting spent on, is The Creator on 4K. So I'm looking forward to rewatching it. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Gareth Edwards was, you know, he took what he did in Rogue One, and he used the Star Wars formula in that, and he's used that and sort of created his own world. Whether you want to say it's sort of borrowed elements from all this other stuff, every film borrows elements from every other film. But yeah, I enjoyed it, loved it.
Come on. We'll get on to the Creator a bit more later on.
Yeah, you could probably talk about it a bit more than me. I like that. When I was looking at it, I was like, I don't know really what to say about it, but I still remember loving it. But I need to watch it again.
I've only seen it the once as well, Paul. But like, there's quite a bit of it I can still piece together. Right. Yeah. So we'll get on to Andy's 10 till 6, and then what we'll do after Andy's 10 till 6, we will rapid fire our 5 to 1 as well, because I'm just looking at the time and I just want to be a bit conscious of that. So we'll just have it's not too sick. We'll just have an overall conversation. Any film that you want to pop out off the list, then we'll talk about it. But Andy, we'll get into your number 10, mate. So this is Andy's list.
Yes, so I'm a bit of a mainstream lady. Have you not seen this yet, Paul?
No.
In your face with Barbie at number 3, Paul.
I was more shocked at Indiana Jones.
Oh, right, I know. Well, do you know, let's just say something about this top 10, right? I appreciate overall.
I've only seen 10 films. I have to put them in some sort of list.
You're not far off from the truth there, mate. Anyway, but yeah, I didn't actually watch, so I'm going through Letterboxd, and I was kind of like, I filtered 2023. I try to log everything on Letterboxd, but I just forget. I'm terrible for saying, "Oh, give it a night to think." I don't know why. It's not life or death. Nobody gives a shit what my rating of like a movie is. But I'm like, I better sleep on that. I can't commit that to Letterboxd as a 3. I need to wait. It might work if it's a 4 and I've undersold it. You know, I sleep on it, and then you sleep on it for a day and another day, and then like a week later, and you're like, "Oh,
my inbox is gonna get bombed with people who hate me."
It's like I've not even done it yet though, and then it's like I've now watched like 5 films in about a fortnight, and I'm like, I'm a total like sucker for like the right dates and stuff. So I'm like going through. I'm trying to find. I'm going back on. I text Paul on the 13th about that, so I must have watched it on the 13th. Put it down for the 13th. Like, I'm a total sado anyway. So not everything makes it to Letterboxd because I've got OCD issues clearly. Commitment issues for reviews. But so I've watched loads of films this year. However, I obviously am big into physical media. That's what my channel's about, and I watched quite a lot of like non-blockbusters, if you like. But I'm going back and watching a lot of old films, so not necessarily stuff that was in 2023. So a lot of the stuff I have watched in 2023 that I've went out my way to watch has been at the cinema, which means it'll likely be a blockbuster. or it'll be a big tentpole release.
Mhm.
So anyway, let's just jump into it. So these are films that I just enjoy. I tried to go in the end. I couldn't get the order right. I was like, they could have jumped it. A lot of these films could have made number one or made the top five, But I tried to just go in what I came away from the cinema feeling good about, that I enjoyed and had a good time, or on my couch with the killer. So number 10 was Dial of Destiny. Right now, I'm a massive Indiana Jones fan. Who isn't? And this film isn't perfect by any means, but I just came away from it ultimately thinking that was amazing, getting to see Indiana Jones one last time. You've got the John Williams score, which I don't think is as good as some of the other scores because it's a bit of a melody of the other movies. So I think it loses its potency because of that. But it's nice from the nostalgia element to get all the little stings from the different films. But Harrison Ford's brilliant. He slips into the character. He's 80-odd-year-old now, so I think it was bold of them to approach it from that, not shy away from the fact that he's an old man now. Yes, he's still an adventurer, and he's going to find himself again as the movie goes on. But we're also not going to have him jumping about like a madman. And we got a bit of that with the studio 1940s digital indie at the beginning, which was great. But yeah, I think I gave this like a 3.5 or something. It's got some issues. It just doesn't quite. It doesn't capture the magic of the originals because they've had to move on, and Indy isn't 40 anymore. He's 80, and that's the only problem with it, really. I think the story maybe isn't as good and as classic as like Raiders and the other ones that went before, but it's an enjoyable movie. I came out of the cinema, feeling fulfilled, hit me in the feels, and I thought it was a kind of heartfelt send off to Indy. I don't get the whole thing with Phoebe Waller-Bridge like undermining him, and I
No.
really don't get that. I don't get that at all.
I think she added to the movie. I really liked her in it.
Yeah, people made out as if she was constantly putting him down and all this kind of stuff. I didn't get that at all. There's
Yeah,
obviously a bit
same.
of play on the fact that he's older, but usually Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones comes back with a quip of wisdom, or he proves himself physically in a way that's kind of like, look, shut it, I can still cut it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was quite good. Like, people thought she was annoying, and people thought she was there to like piss on Indiana Jones, and people got behind the whole woke thing that the woke Indy and all that. Personally, I think that's a lot of shite. I don't agree with that myself. But yeah, say what you will. I enjoyed it, and that's why it's at number 10. So, number 9 is Super Mario Bros. I put this in the last minute, but I won't speak too long about this. But I grew up with Mario. I watched 1993's Madcap Mental movie because I had it recorded off the telly, and I enjoyed it because when you're 6 or 7-year-old, you don't think about like cinematography and dialogue and plot and all that.
I enjoyed it.
You just see Mario and and big Goombas with big trench coats, and away you go. But but I went to see this with my wee cousin who was more clued up on Mario than I was, and I just enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean? I just ear to ear smiling, colourful, funny. The Peaches song. It's an hour and a half. What an absolute privilege it is to watch a film that's only an hour and a half long in 2023. Do you know what I mean? It seems
Absolutely.
like nobody can make a film under 2 hours anymore for some reason. So yeah, it's just really good fun, and you can watch it with the whole family. It broke $1 billion at the box office, and I came out buzzing and having fun and chatting about it with my wee cousin, and he loved it as well. So that's why it's on there, because it was a good cinema experience for me, basically. Number 8 is Guardians of the Galaxy. I've kind of spoken about it already, so again, I won't hammer on too long about it, but just nailed it as a final piece of the trilogy. It restored my faith a bit in the MCU. It's quite emotional, and as I say, the comedy still felt fresh somehow. They still managed to keep it fresh and genuinely funny and satisfying. No dodgy CGI that I can remember in that one. There's a lot of dodgy CGI these days in movies in general. But yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy, just another one I came away going, yeah, that was a thoroughly enjoyable. I seen that in the IMAX, digital IMAX. Awesome. Just really good fun. John Wick 4. It's the 4th entry in the series, and I kind of agree with you guys in that I think it's the best as a kind of like overall spectacle. I still think the first one is kind of has the best story because it's the kind of it's the beginning of that arc. It's a steep arc from this guy we don't know anything about to the Baba Yaga, and by the end of it we know exactly what he's about and what he's capable of, and he's there's that satisfying kind of revenge arc, and he's fully established as John Wick by the end. Come 2, 3, and 4, he doesn't really develop as a character. He just goes all the way through it, just causing havoc, in my opinion. But that's
There's
not what
mo-
you're watching them for. Sorry, you're saying, Ellis?
Yeah, I was going to say you're totally right about the first one. It establishes that story and like your main arc for John Wick. The other movies, 2 to 4, are more occupied with the world building aspect of it, but I think do a good job with it. Like, my God, like, yeah, it wasn't amazing, but we got that Amazon show of the Continental, and we're getting a spin-off with Anna de Armas.
Yeah.
So, there is there's stuff still to like in them later movies. I just think the action just gets progressively better.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you lose out on maybe story and character development from John Wick side of things, you gain in spectacle and choreography.
Yeah.
And like you say, that you make a good point there. The world building is good, But John Wick himself as a character almost plays second fiddle to all that. Other than him being front and center with the action, he's hardly got any lines of dialogue, has he really? But anyway, four is amazing. Scott Adkins is a brilliant addition.
Yes.
And like, what's good about John Wick, right? And I'll compare it to Mission Impossible here, is that we've talked about this to death, but maybe other people haven't heard us talk about it. But the Mission Impossible stunt, right? It ended up a bit of a snore fest for some people because it was all over the media, right?
Yeah.
Who's seen anything? Was it in the trailer? Did anyone see that dragon's breath top down sequence?
No.
Nothing. It was not talked about. It wasn't in any of the trailers. Nothing. But they knew that was going to be surely they must have known people are going to talk about this scene, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was a conscious decision to keep it out of the trailer. And I went in blind. All I heard was someone saying, God, dragon's breath, right? And I was like, all right, what's dragon's breath? And then it happened. It was a total spectacle. The fire rounds, the top down. It's amazing. And because it had been kept secret, it had that wow factor. And that's the sequence you remember from the movie.
I want to go watch it. Right
yeah, it's amazing. But it's a great disc as well, because it's a brilliant HDR demo. The sound and all that. Anyway, John Wick 4 is fantastic. I'm kind of glad, spoiler alert, that they've killed him off. I hope they don't bring him back for a fifth. Maybe in prequels and the spin-offs, or maybe they can bring him back as a cameo that way. But I hope they don't come up with some bullshit reason that he's like escaped death once again, because it's just getting ridiculous. But as a finale for his character, I thought it was great. And then lastly, has anyone else got this high on the list across the Spider-Verse?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got it high, right? I won't say too much then. I keep saying that and then talking forever. Yeah, just more of the same. I thought this might not be as good. It might have lost its magic a little bit, lost its charm. Somehow it manages to top the visual spectacle of the first one. Don't know how, but it does. Again, it feels a bit more of a complete story. The first one, but it is more of a complete story, whereas this one's got a clear end of to be continued. But just awesome. Really good. Seen it in IMAX, superb, every bit as good as the first one, and I'm buzzing for the next part. But that's my 6 to 10. Hopefully that wasn't too slow.
No, awesome, Andy. Across the Spider-Verse isn't on my top 10. Not because I don't think it's a good film. I think it might be like 11 or 12 on my like overall Letterboxd ranking of the year. But it's part 1 syndrome is like killing me at the moment a little bit. Like, we obviously had it with Dune, but I think it was more justified with Dune than something like Spider-Verse, if I'm being honest. It soured me, that ending. I was like, it was really good up until that point. Then I was like, oh, another part 1 situation. I know we sort of knew that going into it, but I really did thought it was just like, boom, it just out of nowhere a little bit. And for like how long the film is as well. I'm not sure, but yeah, apart from that, really good. I just want to add as well, I know, Paul, you're going to talk about this. Like, actually, you know what? I'll save it. I'll shut the hell up. But other mentions on your list, Andy, from 10 to 6, I'll just go. Indiana Jones did not work for me whatsoever, but that's fine. It doesn't have to. I hate women, so Phoebe Waller-Bridge didn't fly for me at all.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying you can't dislike her character, or maybe I don't care about it. You have anyone can have their opinion. All I'm saying is I don't agree that it was like a Kathleen Kennedy-led, Disney-led charge to subvert Indiana Jones. I think people are just running away with that.
It's not Kathleen Kennedy trying to insert herself into the film. Like, it isn't that. I think people need to chill out on that one a little bit. Although I don't think she's good for the Star Wars franchise at all, but that's a topic for a different day. But yeah, man. Go on,
I
Paul.
enjoyed. I just want to touch on Indiana Jones because I don't.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I've spoke to you before about Andy. I didn't grow up with Indiana Jones, so I don't have that nostalgia with them original 3 films. I came into them quite late. I watched them as a kid, but I sort of watched them properly as like a younger teen. So I didn't grow up with them, and I wasn't like, wasn't pretending to be him as a kid or anything like that. So for me, it was just a fun globe-trotting adventure movie, and that is what I want out of an Indiana Jones film. Do you know what I mean? I like that it played with his age in it. I thought that was funny. I thought it worked for me. I really enjoyed Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character in it. Like, she reminded me like the Sully of the Uncharted to a degree, where they just sort of they just sort of quip with each other. I love the locations. All the locations. I thought the set pieces worked. The music, the start, the sort of the nostalgic start. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't. People are saying like it's the work, like terrible, and it's not a terrible film. It's just not as good. It's just not as good as the original. It's the same with Star Wars. You ain't ever gonna make a better Star Wars film than them original films. It just ain't gonna happen. But I'm glad we got another one. Like you said, it felt like a better. Does it? I was gonna say it feels like a better sort of ending than the one we don't talk about, even though I think I like that ending a little bit better. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as people are saying at all.
The thing is, like, how do you end a film for an action hero who's 80? Has it even been done before? Like, what is it you're hoping for? As a finale. So
if like on a different realm of reality, like I would have loved for them to carry on the Shia LaBeouf storyline in this one, and just sort of like had his son not die off camera in Vietnam or whatever it was. You know what I mean? I wish they'd have carried on with that. But obviously Shia is a bit of a loose cannon, so they weren't bringing him back.
I like him as well.
I don't mind him in Crystal Skull whatsoever. I like that. I like the dynamic. Apart from the obvious swinging monkey like in the trees, swinging about.
It's unfortunate that he's front and center in that horrendous sequence. Yeah, people just remember that.
Yeah, totally. If they'd have took that out, I wouldn't have minded Crystal Skull. Like, I know people got loads of problems with the start where he gets in the fridge and that, but I sort of like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, same. I do. I think it's funny.
I think that's one of those weird ones that is grown on people now. Like, people kind of get the humor, I think, behind it.
Yeah.
Myself included, when I first watched that, I think everything's fairly believable in Indiana Jones up until that point, and then I think the fridge people approached it with that and just was like, "No, that's totally fake. That would never happen." But I think now people are realizing Spielberg knew it was totally fake. You weren't supposed to think, that would work. You were supposed to laugh at how ridiculous it was, kind of thing. So,
and I think certain people forget like there is a supernatural element in the Indiana Jones franchise, and there always has been.
Always has been, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. But all right, guys, just because I'm looking at the time a little bit now, I'm gonna get into my 5 to number 1.
Let's go.
Boom. Right, number 5, The Creator. So what I've got to add about this one is, well, actually, you've already mentioned it, but like the budget goes a long way with me nowadays when it comes to movies. Like, and I know that's a bit of a hot topic at the moment, but I think it does count in this day and age, like your budget and stuff like that. If you're spending 300 mil on a film and it looks like
The Flash.
Yes. Or I was going to say the Marvels, not the Flash, but anyway.
I know you were.
But yeah, oh shit, I've completely lost my train of thought. All right, yeah. So 80 million for this film, guys. Like, is that for real? Like, it doesn't make it make sense. Do you know what I mean? Like the 80 mil. Like they did explain, like, they went round with this Sony camera that you can literally buy off the shelf. Basically, and like they've obviously put like different lenses and stuff on it, but adding all this, like all the ships and all the the CGI elements after the fact, where they've went and shot everything like for real, went to real locations and stuff like that, it just looked amazing. I can't remember, is it Nomad, the ship in the air? Is it called Nomad? I can't remember.
Maybe you might be right.
Yeah, it's a thing that's like dropping these bombs throughout the film, and like just that whole thing, it reminded me of Rogue One, definitely. But like, I just thought this was like amazing, top to bottom. I've got one big flaw with the film, and if I'm being honest, it might drag it down in rewatches going forward. I don't think John David Washington has got the minerals for this acting job. I think he's been so middle of the road, apart from Black Klansman, which he was phenomenal in. But that was dealing with like a heavy subject matter of the time. Tenet comes out, and I think, oh yeah, he's playing this like, you know, cool, calm, collected spy. So he's not really got much to bring to the. I get it for that role. But then we get to the creator, and he's in another lead role, and I'm just like I'm not fully on board with him. I don't think he's got the most charisma in the world, if I'm being honest. And you know, like I just watched The Equalizer 3 last night with Denzel. Not an amazing film, but you know what is amazing? Denzel's amazing. He's always good, isn't he? He's always good. Yeah, he's not got the same caliber as his dad, and I know that they are trying to make John David Washington a thing. Like, hopefully, I think he needs to do some sort of like comedy role or something like that, just to like spice things up a little bit. But yeah, there was also a scene in The Creator about halfway point. It's just before the bridge scene, and it reminded me a lot of Avatar in the way like all these ships are coming through the forest and stuff like that, breaking all the trees down. But the sound design, if you shut your eyes, it sounded like the start of The Terminator by James Cameron. So like, as in like the sound of the blasters and the ships and stuff like that. It had, like, that's what it like sort of reminded me of. And I was like, look, any film that's reminded me of Terminator 2 or the flashback scenes of that, you're getting major props, man. But yeah, The Creator, I absolutely loved it. It'll be like one of the reason why it's so high on my list is because I know I will rewatch this a bunch. It'll be one of them. Like, it's like Elysium. I watch that quite a lot. Like on a rewatch, it falls into that category for me. Yeah, 4.5 stars might be a bit, you know, extreme, but I like to be generous once in a while. My number 4 is Past Lives. I don't know if anybody's seen it here.
Heard of it.
Right, so this is obviously not one that I would normally go out my way to watch, but two things. My mate Rob suggested watching it, and it's an A24 film, and if you slap that logo at the front of your film, I'm probably going to watch it these days, which is fine. That's where we are with A24 now. They've established themselves as like this mega brand.
I seen a funny meme actually on A24 the other day saying that they've now made enough money, A24, that they've confirmed that their next movie will have a massive big budget explosion in it. Just that kind of that idea, because they're known for like the whole indie thing. Now they're going to just go mainstream.
I like the fact that people always go, have you seen that new A24 film? But never anyone says, have you seen that new Warner Brothers film? Have you seen that new Universal film?
It's definitely a trend. It's cool to like A24.
Yeah.
But the films are good though. But like,
yeah.
But I can't fault them though. I can't fault them. Any brand or any studio that's now like, like you say, Paul, oh, you're going to go and watch that new A24 film. Like, that's like, you've done wonders for yourself as a company there. If that's what you've got the majority of people saying. And I think we are going to enter this new realm in the next couple of years because, so I think the superhero thing is going to sort of die down a little bit, right? So just like the Westerns, just like your noirs and stuff like that, all these films that come into popularity then go.
Yeah.
I think we are entering this A24 like decade, and I think
people are clamoring for it as well. They want originality back, don't they? Yeah.
What I think people want is the director to have a vision and be allowed to tell that vision on screen. And you know what? Hideo Kojima, like, God bless the man. Like, I feel so happy that he's finally got a film in production. And I think Death Stranding is the perfect IP for A24 to go, because it's not Metal Gear Solid, which I'd have loved. But Death Stranding is that weird sort of like, oh, have you seen the parcel game? Have you seen the new Royal Mail game? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it is all about delivering parcels, but I reckon A24 can really do something vibing with this. And I just think it's awesome. If that's what they meant by big IPs, then I'm all for it. I know they've got, is it Friday the 13th? They've got the rights to... I think they're producing a TV show for Friday the 13th. I might be wrong on that.
Crystal Lake.
Yeah. I don't know if
I'm
it's
not sure.
A24. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's A24, but yeah, they are going in the right direction. Like I said, people are clamoring for the originality, and you stick that logo on something nowadays, and people are gonna go, I'm gonna go check that out, because they shop for films like that, like original films where directors they'll give them the money, they go make your vision, and
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be super expensive. And people want that back, because that's films like from the 80s and the 90s, isn't it? Like you said, the Terminator is a household name, but that film's a low budget indie movie, if you like.
Yeah.
That would have been
people
something
want
that A24 would have made, probably.
Yeah,
in the
people want
80s.
that back.
But it's like a bit like Ex Machina. They've sort of already made it with Ex Machina a little bit. But yeah, man. So back to Past Lives. This right. So
No.
yeah, not normally the sort of thing I'd go for, but the recommendations were there. A24 film, and like Paul was saying earlier on, if I start crying at the end of a film, you're going on my top 10. I just don't know where I'm putting you on my top 10. And this was like, the only way I can explain it is it's about a culture that I don't know a lot about, and about, yeah, they met when they were young age, and it's about them like discovering each other throughout the 30 years and past lives. Would this relationship have worked if we were in different lives? But it focuses on like immigration and stuff like that, and opens up a lot of things that I didn't fully understand. And it's a really good like door open into a life and culture that I don't know much about. And at the end, it's just got one of the most heartbreaking, wretching scenes. Not because it's bad, but it's just like, sorry, I'm just getting paused. It had me in tears, guys. It had me in tears. So at the end of it, I was like, oh my God, like, Georgia, we need to watch this film. It's so good. Do you know what I mean? It's one of them ones. So Past Lives gets an automatic top 5 for me. And it will be a film that I watch again. It feels like I'm on holiday, because most of it's set in like New York. So you get like a really good sort of vibe of the city, what the city's like in that film. But the emotions were there. The emotions were there. Emotions
Past
don't lie.
Lives is being added to my watch list on Letterboxd as we speak.
Watch it with the Mrs. Andy. She'll appreciate it, man. But number 3, guys, is John Wick 4. Obviously, it's been talked about a lot. But for me, this film is just a dance. It is a expertly crafted 3-hour dance that is just like I can't say it. Choreographed. I can't say that word.
I can't say it now.
Choreographed.
Choreographed.
Choreography.
Yeah, is amazing in the film from start to finish. And to be honest, I'm just like, Keanu, I love you, right? Like I've had this like constant like loving relationship with Keanu since the first Matrix film, and rewatching that trilogy on repeat when I was little, to now rewatching the John Wick franchise, like
John Wick.
20 years later, is just like, this is a legacy actor who knows his lane, and he stays in that lane, apart from when he's doing Dracula Untold, which was absolutely horrific on Keanu's part. But yeah, man, I enjoyed it. I like all the practical nature of the stunts and stuff like that. I honestly think it's the best action film that we've had since Fury Road. I would put it in that bracket, sort of. But yeah, John Wick 4. What else is there to say about John Wick 4? Not a lot. It's amazing. If you
it is amazing.
haven't checked it out.
Aye, it's a visual spectacle.
Yeah, totally. My number 3. My number 2, sorry, is Oppenheimer.
What's Oppenheimer?
So
that came out last year, didn't it?
Yeah. So me and Andy did a nearly 3-hour stream on that. So if you want to go,
that's right. I remember now.
So Andy, you'll have way more to say about this film than probably what I do, but I'll just chime in and say, look, you know what I was worried about, right? When I came out the cinema, it was like, how am I going to feel about this film on rewatch? That was my biggest thing. It was like, I know this film's amazing. I've come out of it. I was blown away. But is this going to be a film that I want to rewatch quite a lot? And that does factor into my top 10 sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I've rewatched this, and it's just as good, if not better, the second time, because you're way more allocated with who the players are in the film.
Yep.
you remember names, you understand where the legions lie and where they don't lie. You realize who's fucking over who and stuff like that. And I will say, after watching it a second time, the absolute MVP of this film for me, yeah, Cillian Murphy's great in it. Cillian Murphy, sorry, but Robert Downey Jr. man just brings next level goods to this film, and him and Han Solo, Alden Ehrenreich, their dynamic, their dynamic through the film, really enjoyed it. I just think, Robert Downey Jr., I obviously loved him as Iron Man, but like it's so hard to break away from that role when it's so in the zeitgeist. So leaving it a little bit of time and, like being cast in a Chris Nolan film, it reminded me of Downey in Zodiac. David Fincher's Zodiac, because it was just another level of acting that we don't normally see from Robert Downey Jr. And I just thought he was amazing. And the other thing I'll bring up when it comes to Oppenheimer, it can't be underestimated. If you'd have told me Chris Nolan's going to be releasing movies without Chris Nolan doing the score, I'd be like, oh shit, we are in for trouble. Zimmer, sorry. Yeah, Zimmer. We're in for trouble if he's not scoring Nolan's films. Ludwig Göransson is some boy. Oh my god, mate! Like, everything down to the Mando theme tune, which I think is phenomenal. It's so good. It's one of my favorite like themes of like the last 10 years, like the Rocky elements to it and stuff like that. It's just so good. But then he brings out Tenet, which is also another banger with Nolan. Then this is
sounds like Tenet either. It's so
yeah. And I just think if this is going to be his new partnership moving forward, we're in for a treat here, man. We're in for a treat. But my number one is Babylon. Holy shit. Andy, have you seen this one yet?
Yeah, mate. So I would have had it in my top 10 probably, but I seen it in like March or April. It was a Cinema Paradiso 4K Blu-ray I got. So I watched it at home, and then when I looked up when it was released, I mistakenly thought it had been released because I think in the US it was released to the end of 2022. So that's why I didn't include it, but it was actually released, as it turns out, in 2023 in the UK. So that's the only reason I didn't have it on. But yeah, I've seen them all. Yeah, I've seen all Damien Chazelle's films, and Whiplash. I actually seen Whiplash last. I seen La La Land, First Man. I was kind of like, that was okay. Loved La La Land. Then I watched Whiplash and thought that was superb. That's a 5 out of 5. And then went into Babylon, thinking the way things are trending, maybe this isn't going to work because reviews have been poor. Well, not poor, but they had been kind of mediocre, lukewarm. But I was just totally gripped by it. I think the whole point of that film was to kind of fall in love with the world, golden era Hollywood. To fall in love with the film the same way that the main character does. And that happened for me. Basically, I was like totally immersed in that kind of world and the madness of it. And I thought, it's just a really believable interpretation of 1920s Hollywood, and everybody in it, as much as they're so over the top that you think they're probably real. They're so over the top that they're realistic in a way, if that makes sense. Like Brad Pitt's character and stuff. But yeah, I loved it.
Oh, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Like this film, like it took me a while to see this one. I didn't see it in the cinema or anything like that. I saw the reviews, they were middling to terrible, but then some people was calling it a masterpiece. I'm not the biggest Damien Chazelle fan, if I'm being honest. And when I say that, I'm only saying that because I haven't seen La La Land and I haven't seen First Man. I have seen Whiplash. Awesome film. One of the best roles of the 21st century with oh my god, Simmons. Yeah, man. Awesome. Babylon, Jesus Christ, like the first 25 minutes before like the title card comes on, you're just like
I want to be at that party.
Yes,
it's funny as well. It's genuinely, it's funny. I think it's
hilarious.
It's got a lot of dark laughs in it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I was saying earlier on, I'm not massively into comedies, but this film does make me laugh the same way Wolf of Wall Street makes me laugh.
Yes.
I sort of put this in the same category as Wolf of Wall Street, but a period piece version of it. Yeah, it's not about business, but it sort of is when it is about film and stuff like that. Can I just say, like, Margot Robbie, right? Like, regardless of how beautiful she is, right? She's in 2 of my top 10s this year. She's in number 10. She's in number 1. This is Margot's best performance. If you've seen I, Tonya, she's very good in that. But this has more dynamics to this role than what I, Tonya does. There's a scene in this film where they're acting out a scene and she comes in, she has to start putting on this cry. And it's just one of like the best acting scenes I've seen ever. It's just amazing. There's so much going on with that. I can't remember if that's a scene or not where the guy dies in the booth because he gets overheated. Can you remember that?
Yeah,
I think
he keeps trying to get out and he keeps shutting the door on him. Like, no, stay in there.
I think the acting one you're talking about, is that not when she kind of like comes up as her first day on set, she's an extra or something, and it's kind of like, mate, you just jump up, do it, and they're quite nasty towards her. And they're kind of
It's when aren't they making the first soundy in the film? Isn't that and they can't get the sound right, and she's losing her shit constantly.
Yeah, well, it's weird as well, because you know what I find funny about that scene as well? They've got the other actress in there. Is it Samantha Weaving, who looks a lot like Margot Robbie?
Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving, yes, correct.
Yeah.
Samara.
She gets kicked out, then Margot comes in for the scene. It's just phenomenal. Brad Pitt's amazing in it. Like, you know what? I just didn't understand the critics. Like looking back in hindsight now, when I watched the film, I went back and watched the reviews, and there's some reviews out there that I really respect that were just like really shitting on the film in like weird ways. Like,
it was weird, wasn't it? Like, I was like, what are they saying? I'm not.
100%. I think the first 20 minutes puts a lot of people off, and if you're not in for the ride in that first 20 minutes, it could sour you for the rest of the film. But go on.
The scene where they kind of like when they get, it's like one of the last silence they're doing, and Brad Pitt's pissed and all that, and he turns up at the last minute, and it's intercut with the lead character basically getting a taxi or a car into town to get more film because they've run out of film, and he's trying to get back before last light, and if they don't get this shot, it's going to cost them a fortune, and then it all just kind of comes together. Brad Pitt's been pissed out his face all day, but when they put him in front of the camera, his star quality comes out, and he just stands there all windswept and interested and delivers that. Like, he makes up that perfect shot, and they get the shot, and then it's like it goes silent so that you feel the moment of cinema magic being captured, as though you're in the audience watching it. And then it cuts back to like the big, like it's a team effort. It's like, yeah, we got it. It's amazing. Then it goes back to like madness. I just thought that was so clever and made me like, I'm interested in film production. I'm getting more and more into like I love the collaborative process and like the work and the ensemble effort that goes into making movies. So to see that kind of honoured on screen by Damien Chazelle, like, I've not really seen that before on film. Like, them getting across the collaborative magic of what goes in, the madness that goes into capturing that one moment, that that moment of movie magic, basically. I thought that scene was fantastic.
I just think this film's going to age like a fine wine. Like, it'll be one of them that you just keep coming back to, and whenever you watch it in your life, you'll get something out of it. 100%. It's a bit like, I don't know, it just joins the Preflon of like Boogie Nights and stuff like that. Wolf of Wall Street. It's like one of these like big epic drug-fueled, comedy-fueled, dark comedy. It's just everything thrown at you at 100 miles an hour, and I was all for it. And that, my guys, is my top 10 of 2023. So we're going to move on next to Paul. Should we go with you next, mate?
Yeah, man. I'm keeping me on the time, so I'll try my best to get through them in a good enough time. But throw them up.
Andy, no, that's you. Paul, here we go.
Okay, number 5, Godzilla -1. Either of you seen this yet?
No, because it plays once a day at like weird times.
I'm hopeful to see it this weekend.
Yeah.
But
okay. This film absolute blew me away. Now, my sort of relationship with Godzilla is I like the character. I've always been a fan of monster movies and that, but my introduction to Godzilla was the Emmerich film in '98, and then not until the Legendary films where I sort of really got my own sort of version of Godzilla, which was more authentic to the Japanese version. But it's just a franchise that it just missed me You know, I never grew up with any of the Godzilla films, but you've seen all the reviews of this. Everyone was raving about this film. I was like, wow, like people are giving it 5 out of 5 now. Like Godzilla, 5 out of 5. What?
Yeah.
Went and checked it out, man. Yeah, it's the ultimate monster movie. When I was watching this, I felt like I was watching Jurassic Park or Jaws for the first time. It felt like the director, you know, he was given quite a lot of free reign, and he felt like he made the movie he wanted to make, and it did have that sort of watching Jurassic Park for the first time. It felt fresh, it felt new. Godzilla himself in the movie is terrifying, like a force of nature. Like they did it quite well for me personally in the 2014 movie. I know a lot of people didn't like that. A lot of Godzilla fans aren't fans of that, but it works for me, that film, because of just how they portray Godzilla on screen. But they did it 20 times better in this one. Like he come on screen, and I got to watch it on the big screen as well, and the sound design was deafening, and like it was like scary when he was roaring and stuff. But what I loved about this movie is, and this is weird to see a Satan with a Godzilla film over the one, because of the ones I've only seen, is the human characters in this were fantastic. The story, it was set post World War II, I believe, and the main character is like a kamikaze pilot who was in the army, who sort of abandoned his duty, and he was sort of dealing with his city that he lived in, sort of didn't like him for, you know, not defending the country, and he wanted to redeem himself, and he ends up sort of getting with this woman who, you know, obviously it's World War II, Japan's in bits and they're recuperating, and he ends up getting with this woman who's on the streets, who has a kid, and they sort of adopt it, who, you know, a kid whose parents must have died, and then Godzilla comes and just wrecks shop, and it's basically Japan and the Japanese community coming together. You know, it's like a post World War II film where, you know, the Japan itself, the city, you know, the country is on its arse, and the city have to rise up again to take down Godzilla. 15 million this cost. 15 million. The special effects. There's a couple of shots where you're like, yeah, but they've only got 15 million. But for the most part, you're like, wow, what, like you know, when you get in films like we've said, like The Flash and the Marvels, 200 million, like 15 million this cost. And the score for it, they implement score from the original movie, which, even though I've not seen the original movie, you know that music. When you hear it, you know it. Like hip hop artists have sampled it, and it's been in other movies and stuff, so you recognize it. Yeah, fantastic movie. I went to watch it just before Christmas, and it slipped right into my top 5, and I cannot wait for it to come out so I can watch it again. If you get chance, go watch it on the big screen. If you get chance, please go watch it. It's fantastic.
I'll definitely be watching it at the cinema. Just like I said, it's like one of these.
It's not been shown much, has it?
No, it's like once a day, Andy, and it's like usually at a weird time when I can't go. So I'll have to. I need to get round to it before it leaves the cinema. Have you seen Shin Godzilla, Paul?
I watched it about 4 days before going to watch this one to sort of get me in the mood for it. And I didn't really like it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But are the effects better than Shin Godzilla? Or is
it's like you're watching a Hollywood movie.
Yeah. That's what I'm sort of getting.
Yeah,
man. Cool.
Effects are fantastic.
So, number 4, Paul.
Number 4, yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I will say, the first time I went to watch this, the day it come out, the evening, I've been in work all day. I was really tired, and the cinema I was in, the screening, there's a lot of disruptions, kids and that. So I had a bit of a rough time watching it. And so when I left, I really liked it, enjoyed it. But I was like, it's as good as the first one. I didn't really think it is. But then it come out in 4K, and I bought it just because I'm a massive Spider-Man fan anyway, and I had the first one. So I wanted to watch it again sort of on my own. And the second time around, it's a bit like, what film did you say? Sort of like when you know the pieces, once you know how the story's going to play out, a bit like Oppenheimer. Once I knew how the story was going to play out, it worked a lot better for me, knowing how it was going to end. So I didn't have that, it just feels like part 1. For me, now I've seen it and I watched it back to back with the first one, it felt like The Empire Strikes Back to Star Wars, where the first Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse feels like just it's a Spider-Man film, like Star Wars, yeah, it's Star Wars, and then it really gets into the character development with Empire Strikes, with Across the Spider-Verse, more character development, more emotion, and that cliffhanger, man. The second time round, it worked for me so well. The way it was shot, the way it was put together, the music that's playing, and the soundtrack to this film, banging, by the way. The score and soundtrack.
Unreal, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I cannot wait to see how they tie it up. And I think and I hope once it's all said and done, we'll have another fantastic comic book trilogy there.
Can I just say as well, because it wasn't in my top 10, but I need to express this. Oscar Isaac is Spider-Man 2099.
2099.
Oh, so good, man. Like the intensity and stuff, and like the way like they animate his face near the end of it, where he just looks psychotic.
Yeah.
It's so good, man. So good. Like that end fight with the train and stuff. It hits, man. It really hits. Like that whole sequence of him escaping, then getting on the train. Like, guys, like I would have had it on my top 10, but if I'm gonna shout out an animated film for this year, that'd be Turtles.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, we'll go your number 3, I think, Paul.
Yeah. Have you guys seen this? Killers of the Flower Moon, Scorsese's new one?
Not had a chance to.
I was lucky
about a whole Sunday for this one.
Yeah, I was lucky. I had a day off, and it was on quite early. And I thought I'm going to go and check it out before it leaves the cinema. Loved it. Scorsese, man, what a guy. This, like my top 2 and the 2 films you've already talked about, Babylon and Oppenheimer. Nolan and Damien Chazelle, I feel like they borrowed elements of how Scorsese made films for their film. You just get sucked into this world, man. Don't you? It's a 3-hour epic, and you're locked in. And it's like you said about past lives. It's subject matter I wasn't very familiar with. It's about the Indians who discover oil, and then the white man comes in, and they're trying to take it off them, and it's all corruption and stuff like that. But you just get sucked into the world and the characters, and Leonardo DiCaprio is amazing in it. I'm blanking on the girl's name, but people are saying she should be nominated for an Oscar for this role.
Lily Gladstone?
Yes,
right?
That's it.
Sounds
Yeah. It's one of them films like Oppenheimer again, where there was people popping up in this film out of nowhere that I didn't even know were in it. Like real, like hard hitting, like, like hard, big names in Hollywood. And yeah, again, it's another film. It's a film I need to watch it again when I've got 3.5 hours spare. But talking about the runtime, I didn't feel it at all. I was locked in.
I was going to ask you, is it too long?
For me, I was locked in from start to finish. I've got quite a strong bladder, so I don't normally go to the toilet when I go to the cinema anyway. But I was locked in. Yeah, it's fantastic performances. It's emotional. It has that Scorsese crime drama element to it. De Niro plays that sort of. He's obviously an older character now, but he's still that gangster character. You know what I mean? There, you don't mess with him, even though he's like an 8-year-old man. He's still that guy. You're like, yeah, you don't mess with this guy because he'll fuck shit up for you. And it ends. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but it ends. It sort of goes into a sort of tie up. The last hour of the movie is like a tie up of. It's like a fallout last hour of the 2 hours you watched before, and it ties it all up really nice. Yeah, I loved it. Like, it's Scorsese, man. He's just the king of making movies, and every film he can make 4 or 5 hour long films because he just knows how to keep you locked in that world, whatever world he's creating, whatever time period. He just puts the characters in there, and you are locked in. You're in for the ride. I loved it. Killers of the Flower Moon.
So with that third act, is it a little bit like Oppenheimer, where it's like the trial, like the third act sort of the trial? It's the wrap up of the events prior.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's sort of like the fallout of the. So you get the story, and then something happens, and then the last hour is like wrapping up like what happens to these characters after the fact.
Okay. I'm looking forward to seeing it, man. Like, but it's definitely one of them films that I know I'll appreciate so much more on a rainy Sunday when I can get on the couch with the dogs and watch a 3.5 hour Scorsese epic. So, but yeah, man. Go on, Andy. Sorry.
I can't believe Wes Studi not in it. I'm just looking at the cast there. Like, Wes Studi is in every single Native American movie ever made, and like he must be like due to sack his agent because he didn't get a part in it.
There's an actor who's having a bit of a resurgence at the moment who crops it up, and I was like, oh, it's nice to see him.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
think I know
Brendan
you mean.
Fraser?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Just because I've got
I
it
like-
in front of me.
I like Jesse Plemons, who's in the film. Like, I think he's a really underrated actor.
Yeah, he's kind of character.
He's great in it.
Character actor.
I don't know if you guys have seen. Sorry, just getting off topic slightly. Have you seen that Civil War trailer that Alex Garland's
Yes.
written and directed?
Um,
Oh
yeah.
my god! I don't know if that's
No,
a
I
bit
don't
on the
think I've
nose.
seen that trailer.
Oh, Andy, after the stream,
look
watch
up, yeah.
watch Civil War. I'd be quite
haven't seen
interested to see what you think about that one. I think the Americans will be sweating about that film at the moment. Definitely, hits a bit close to home. But anyway, sorry, sidetrack there. But all I was saying, Civil War was Jesse Plemons is in the trailer, and he just every time I see him, he's always phenomenal.
Oh, yeah, interesting cast. Just looking at it. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, but Paul, you're number 2, I think it is, mate.
Yeah, Oppenheimer. You guys pretty much covered it. Nolan. I'm there for Nolan day one.
Yeah.
Wasn't very familiar with the subject matter, what it's about, but again, he just has a way of bringing you into this world. And even though it's not like a Batman, or it's not like an Interstellar, it's not like a big epic movie, it feels like a big epic movie. And it's just a biography, about the guy who made the atomic bomb.
It's the most interesting factor about the film for me that like it's his most successful film. It's nearly at the $1 billion mark at the moment, yet it's a biopic.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Half of it's in black and white. Like, people loved it.
Yeah, but he was firing. Nolan was firing on all cylinders. The whole entire cast were firing on all cylinders of the movie. Like you said, the score, which I've listened to loads of times since its release, it just gives me goosebumps just listening to it. Because it's one of them scores where when you listen to it, you can picture the film. And when a score can do that, that's when you know it's a fantastic score, when you can sort of play the film in your head with the music. Loved it. And like you said, second time round works even better once you know sort of how it plays out and where the pieces fit in and who's who. I had an even better time with it the second time. Yeah, loved it. Fantastic film.
Man. So that is Paul's top 10.
Oh, no. Number 1.
Oh, shit. Number 1. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Are you fine?
Sorry.
You guys, you covered there anyway, man. It's Babylon. And, like you said, it was very early at the start. I think I watched it like the first week of January or something like that when this come out. Obviously, we got it later than America, so I'm classing it as a 2023 movie. You guys have covered it though. It's again all my top 3 films, like 3-hour movies. I must be a sucker for these. Like, again, you just get sucked into the world, and it's batshit crazy. Margot Robbie firing on all cylinders in this movie. She is fantastic.
Yeah,
like you guys, I love movies about the movie industry, and this sort of takes it's sort of like a Black Mirror-esque look at the movie industry in its early days, and it's just got so many memorable scenes. Like we said, the bit when they're doing the soundy for the first time, the bit when Margot Robbie goes batshit crazy, the bit with the snake madness. No. The ending's quite. I got quite emotional. The very end when it shows you all like the history of movies it's going through. Yeah. As a movie fan, man, you guys probably felt there. As a movie fan, you're like, yeah, man, movies are fucking awesome.
A lot of people, a lot of critics weren't happy with that. They thought it was quite.
I loved it.
Yeah,
for me, in fact, the movie is about the creation of movies, and as a movie fan, I love that. Like how it was just like, here's what you love and the history of it in like a little montage.
I have a feeling why people might have been a bit jarred by that ending is because it goes past the point of where the film's set.
Yeah,
so it goes all the way.
It breaks the fourth wall to an extent.
But it's sort of like here's where Hollywood went, though, isn't it? Like, so that's what I got. Yeah, I loved it. Like the score, the first 20 minutes, the score's amazing. I've watched it 2 or 3 times this year, and I loved it, and I will continue to watch it. It feels like a Scorsese Tarantino movie, and I feel like that was his. I feel like that's what he was trying to do. I don't want to say he's stealing the ideas and that, but when I was watching it, and I love Scorsese and I love Tarantino, so it was working. It was firing on all cylinders for me as a fan of them 2 directors, and it felt like his sort of version of their sort of movie making.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right, solid top 10 list, Paul. we'll now move on to Andy's. And Andy, your number 5 spot here is a film that I've been dying to talk about all night.
We've got about
it's
60 seconds to talk about it.
No. All right, we've got another 15 minutes, guys, just to put it in.
All right, okay. I tell you what, I'm going to be. There's no point in talking about like the creator and Oppenheimer and stuff. So I'll mention them, but we'll talk about mainly the ones that are on my list that haven't been covered, just for time.
Yeah.
So number 5 on the list is The Killer, right? Now I put this on quite kind of late in the day because I was really racking my brains to try and think of like, what is kind of worthy of a top 10 list though. Trying to think of something that was a wee bit more. They would give. Admittedly, I was trying to find something a bit more interesting to talk about that wasn't just blockbusters and stuff, and I felt that The Killer deserved a shout. I didn't really expect anything from this film, right? There's actually some David Fincher films I've not seen, some quite important ones, like The Social Network still.
Okay.
There must be another one, but it escapes me. I've seen a lot of his films anyway. But I don't know, I sat down to watch this and I kind of thought, okay, The Killer, it's the typical, it's the hitman who has a moment of, a crisis of conscience, and he's going to turn good by the end of the film, kind of thing. So I went in not really expecting much, and I was quite surprised that David Fincher was taking on something like that. I didn't know that it was based on a graphic novel. Something quite straightforward for him, a genre piece. But it just worked as a film for me. Like it just from the moment it started, I loved the narration style. Michael Fassbender, such a cool, like kind of dead behind the eyes, almost cold character. He's like I would believe if it turned out Michael Fassbender was actually killing people in real life, I wouldn't be surprised. He just comes across that way, like, and he's he's just very kind of calculating, I think, to look at, like an intellectual, if that makes sense. Anyway, I like the narration style, the build up to the not to spoil it people, but when the botch happens as such with the assassination, and that line of dialogue that gets repeated through the film, almost as like a heartbeat for the film. Just really cool. It reminded me of something that would have been made in the 70s, the late 70s, or I don't know if that's what he was trying to channel. There's not much action in it, but it's done well. It's believable, and because it comes only every so often, you feel it. You feel the violence of it. You feel that it's something that takes energy and preparation to actually take a life. It's not whimsical. It's not like Wick, where you just you've got a MAGA 15. You've got a MAGA 15, and you've done 15 guys in that you will never think about ever again because you don't have time because now you're fighting this guy. Like that kind of way, which is great in that world and with that tone and pace and rhythm. But this was much more kind of grounded in if you want to kill people and get away with it and do it for a living, then you need to be a totally different kettle of fish. You need to be calculated, clever, disciplined, and all that. And I think this film nails it. And I just really enjoyed it. And when I watched it on Netflix, enjoyed the cinematic presentation of it and all that. And I sat on my couch, and it was one of those nights where I was like, "That's why I've spent money on my home cinema, because." For films like that, I enjoyed that. That was a good home movie experience there. I would actually have liked to have seen it on the big screen. But yeah, I just thought The Killer deserved a mention. The everything you expect from Fincher these days, awesome, cool, totally vibing soundtrack, great central lead, well cast, and Michael Fassbender, and just a well executed story. I'm sure I've never read the graphic novel, but I'm sure people that are familiar with it would be quite pleased with that adaptation, I would think.
I really want to read the graphic novel just because I want to understand more about the film.
Yeah.
I've seen the film twice now. So this was my most anticipated film for this year because David Fincher's like my top 3. Do you know what I mean? It goes like Fincher, Ridley, Quentin. Like they're the 3 that I get most excited about. And this, I heard about this film I would say about nearly 2 years ago now, when I think it was getting filmed through lockdown and the pandemic and stuff like that. It just, for whatever reason, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I think because I had so long to think about it, it became something else in my head, sort of thing. So when I sat down to watch it, I was going on about it all day to Georgia and stuff like that. When we finally sat down and watched it, at the end of it, she just looked at me and goes, "What have you just made me watch there?" And I'm like trying to convince her and convince myself that
That
it
it
was
was good.
good. And yeah. And at the end of the day, it was just it wasn't really for me. It was it's not a bad film by any means. It's just when you expect this film to be guaranteed in your top 10, if not your top 5, it was just a bit disappointing for me afterwards. Like I don't think it's one of Fincher's best pieces of work, but a bad Fincher film is still a good film, if you get me. But yeah, it's definitely a film, especially if it comes out on physical media, because it'd be like absolutely something I buy if it does. But I'm not so sure with it being Netflix, obviously. It will be a film that I rewatch. Like I enjoyed it more the second time watching it round, and the comedic side of the film starts unearthing a little bit. Like it has got some like black comedic moments with it. Like his mantra that he uses throughout the full film is he may as well shot that mantra straight out the window, because he does the polar opposite of everything he fucking says in the mantra. Like to the end where I think it's like where he's saying it.
I
For
think
like
that's deliberate though.
Oh yeah,
That's
totally. I don't think I was like keyed in enough at the time of watching it to realize that's what Fincher was going for. But I think this is like the most comedy that we'd ever get out of Fincher. Do you know what I mean? So like when Tilda Swinton cuts Michael Fassbender's character off halfway through his mantra, I don't know. It's sort of like, yeah, that is bullshit. Stop saying that. Like you're doing the polar opposite of everything you're saying. But it's basically going like Fincher's probably done exactly what he meant to do. Was like my like expectations of the film. He's totally diverted that. Like he's done sort of the polar opposite. But I will like it doesn't end in some climactic like building. Like it's not the Equalizer 3 where he goes and takes like 50 people out and stuff like that. It isn't that. It's the polar opposite of that. I don't want to sort of ruin it, but anything like that of what exactly happens. But it's definitely worth a watch. Just as a big Fincher fan, it doesn't. It like like I like Fight Club, Zodiac, Panic Room, like all these films are just like and Social Network, like I think's like one of the most important films of like the 21st century, to be honest. I think we'll look back at the Social Network in 50 years time and says that's where the downfall began, and this is a great biopic of one of the leaders of the downfall. But not to get too pessimistic about it, but that's my thoughts on The Killer. I wish I liked it a lot more, and it will be one of them films to watch.
I think you'll enjoy it. Maybe now that you kind of know what it's about, you can go in without your own expectation and idea of what the film is about, and just take it in now for what it actually is, as opposed to comparing it to what you thought it was going to be, kind of thing. Because I think that was the opposite for me. Because I was like, David Fincher, The Killer. You were spouting about it almost every month about how much you were about it. So I can totally testify that you did build it up. Whereas I was like, oh, that'll be interesting, and didn't think about it until like it came out, and then I sat down. I think you reminded me it was on, and I was like, oh, that's out. That's on Netflix. Excellent. Plonked myself down, having thought nothing about it. Like, I just turned it on and watched it, and I was like, yep, I enjoyed that. So I think that's maybe a wee bit why you...
like, it's a modern day noir film is basically what it is. Like, and I think if it was more of like a period piece, I would like psychologically feel more at like, oh, I know what he's going for here. But because it's set like today and it's noir, it throws you off a little bit, where it threw me off a little bit. But yeah, man, it's something that I want to read up on. I want to get the graphic novel and whatnot. But yeah, that was what was that, Andy? Is that your number 5? We'll just quickly rapid fire your last 4.
Andy. I'll go as quick as I can, mate. So the creator, I just thought it was really good, refreshing, original sci-fi. Now I say that I fully agree with what Paul said, in that yes, of course, this film is inspired by many other great films, arguably better films. But that to me, that doesn't take away with it. There's not enough of this. We don't get enough of this. We're starved of kind of fairly big budget original sci-fi that isn't Terminator fucking 7, Aliens 8, whatever it is, right? And that's great. Sometimes I enjoy those movies from time to time. Who doesn't? But this at least is someone trying to do something. I like Gareth Evans' visual style. For me, the biggest influences here. People keep saying Blade Runner, but I don't get that kind of as much as I get like more modern day. Obviously, there's the AI thing, and there's that whole
Yeah.
relationship. But I don't actually think this shares much of an aesthetic with Blade Runner. I think it's more like what Blomkamp's done, like District 9,
That's what it reminded me of.
Elysium, that kind of like believable industrialist decaying world. I suppose Blomkamp's films were maybe inspired by Blade Runner's kind of, instead of going ultra futuristic, let's go with a kind of more grounded decaying future, which, so maybe there is a link back to it that way. But yeah, just enjoyed it. It didn't connect with me emotionally, Paul, the way you said, but I still enjoyed it. I wasn't like upset at the end, although I think you're supposed to be, but I don't know why. I seen it in the cinema, but I just loved the visuals. I loved the kind of the style of it. The fact that it was quite original. I didn't know where it was going until it kind of happened. So yeah, I'm all for it. It's okay to be influenced by amazing films. I don't think it's fair to write a film off. We didn't do that before. Like
Yeah.
we've not done that in the past with all these other films. I mean, Star Wars is inspired by Seven Samurai and all that. There was Stanley Kubrick's 2001, which has got better visuals than anything that George Lucas did. But nobody says, "Oh, that's just." Nobody talks about Star Wars and goes, "That's just 2001." Oh, it does. Mate, Paul, go and have a look at the space stuff in Star Wars, then look at the stuff in 2001. It's better filmmaking. But I don't think it's an entertaining film by any means. But some of the Death Star stuff from the 70s and that it's ropey compared to what Kubrick was doing in like 69. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, Creator's good, enjoyable sci-fi. Barbie was a big surprise for me, much like you, Paul. I just went into it thinking from day one, that'll not be for me. Like, it's Barbie. I don't play with Barbie dolls. Like, I don't know. I'm not interested. And then the hype built for it and all that. And Ryan Gosling was involved and Margot Robbie. And I thought, well, if they're involved, there's got to be something in this. Greta Gerwig and all that. And then just went in and just absolutely loved it. I just thought it was really entertaining. Went to see my wife. Funny, laughed all the way through it. I enjoyed how they flipped it round. The modern day. It's a story for females, right? It's to inspire young girls. That's what it's about. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy it as a guy and have a laugh. Have a laugh at us. Have a laugh at our like stereotypes and tropes. That's what it does. The whole like Ken and all his entourage are like stereotypes of what toxic guys are supposed to be. Like nobody's. I don't think anyone's watching that and being offended and going, "Oh, I can't believe they're portraying us like that." Right? I think if you're watching it, you know that it's deliberate. It's supposed to be funny. It's a piss take of like that kind of stereotype of what guys are, and Ken and all that's the needy, insecure. What would have been a female character back in like the 70s and 80s and all that? They subvert that onto the guys, not to piss on the guys, just to have it's just to have a laugh, if you know what I mean. I just thought the comedy worked. I was away googling all the actual Barbies, like there was actually a Barbie with a TV in its chest after it, like things like that. I just thought it was really good, colourful, like not too long. The musical pieces were funny. Ryan Gosling was amazing. Margot Robbie perfectly cast. I get why it made $1 billion, basically.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. So that's why I came away talking about it with my wife, talking about all the themes. And it was probably the surprise factor that I enjoyed it that much is why I put it so high on my list. I think, again, Barbie will be an important one that will be talked about. It's kind of captured the good side, maybe, of the Me Too movement, I think.
The best thing that film could ever do is not make any more sequels, and it'll just be this pocket
just leave it
of specialness that came out at a certain time. But I agree with everything you said there, Andy. Like even when they go on about like the Snyder Cut and mansplaining the Godfather and stuff like that, it's funny.
Like I was every time they made a joke at the male character's expense, I was laughing because I recognised myself.
Like when he first goes like to the real world, Ken, and he's going into the hospital and he's like, "I need a doctor," and he's like, and she's like, "I am a doctor," and he's like, "Oh, doctor, there you are." It's all in the trailer and stuff, but it's just funny, man.
All the kind of sexist stuff,
at our expense, and I was into it.
Yeah, but I just think it's done tastefully. It's not done in a man-hating way. It's like it's so in your face and over the top that it's obvious she wants the male audience to laugh along. And I think if you take offence to it, in my opinion, you're missing the point. If you take offence to the male put downs in it, you're maybe missing the point a wee bit. But
missing the point, and maybe is you need to have like a bit of, well, hang on, am I doing that because I do all them things or what? But yeah, totally
I
agree
think
with
you're right.
Andy.
Yeah, you're either going to laugh because you can look at yourself and go, "God, that's me, ha ha ha, what am I like?"
Yeah.
Or you can be like,
Offended
you know,
by it.
go, "Oh, that is me," inwardly, but then go, "Oh, I don't like the fact you're showing me up here. You're exposing me for what I am." Like, are you
Totally.
saying why is this funny? Is that not acceptable to be an arsehole mansplainer? You know, like that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. But then,
but yeah, that's
your
why I
last
like
two,
Barbie.
Andy.
Yeah, so Mission Impossible. I don't know why I've got that at number 2. I really don't. I don't think I'd put it there if I could do it again. I love Mission Impossible. I love TC. I love that ensemble cast, and my love for cinema and all that all came through Bond. I love the spy genre, and I
Yeah.
love all the live action stunts. I don't need to say much more. It doesn't have a strong enough villain. I think I've thought about it and watched it a few times now. It's the lack of a villain and the
Yeah. Totally.
overexposure of its big set piece that undercuts it a
Sorry,
little bit. Yeah, and the fact that it's what, number 7, and you've
Yeah.
had certainly 4, 5, and 6 have been fantastic. Like, bar-raising action films. There was going to be a point where they just weren't going to be able to move it. They might move it again with the next one, but they just didn't quite move the needle enough
What?
for me on this one. But it's still in itself, for me, as a fan of the genre, as a fan of the franchise, I came away going, yeah, that's good, man. That's why I like movies. That's what I like to see.
I think even though wasn't as good as the 2 previously, it's still for me it was a perfect summer blockbuster movie, and that's my jam. That's what I like in the cinema. Do you know what I mean?
And it's part
And I
1.
just think,
So.
yeah, totally. There's rumors about them changing it to not a part 2 now, calling it something else, which I don't know. It doesn't really matter. My thing is where the villain aspect of it being AI. I just think you had 2 films about AI this year, and one of them took the AI concept and done something quite clever with it, which was The Creator. Like, I went into The Creator thinking the AI were going to be the enemy, and it really isn't that in The Creator. Whereas Mission Impossible, the AI is totally the cliche
from the outset.
Yeah. But Andy, number 1, Mr. Chrissy Nolan.
I've talked about it to death. I've done videos on it, I've done streams on it, and we're not getting much time. So yeah, Oppenheimer, I just think it's the best piece of filmmaking in 2023. Like, visual spectacle of it, the drama, the ensemble cast, the performances are off the chart. Like you, I was worried that maybe on second viewing, because it's a drama, I might not be as engaged. I reviewed it on my channel, and I sat down to watch it, and I actually, just because I'm busy and it's 3 hours long, I thought I'll do the first half, and then I'll do the second half tomorrow night, and then I'll review it. And I got to the halfway point, and I was like, I ain't turned this off. And I just stayed up till like 1 in the morning, and I just watched it because it was like, it gripped me. So a 3-hour movie that's ultimately about scientists talking, that can hold you on a second viewing for 3 hours against your will, passes the test for me. So it's, and I'll watch it again because I just think this, the score, the visuals, and like the performances and the themes, very relatable. Oh, the human drama for me was very relatable.
Yeah,
I can't relate to scientists, but I can relate to kind of like the family struggles and the marital struggles and stuff like that Oppenheimer goes through. And I think that was all captured well, because sometimes that's a criticism of Nolan, is that the characters get left behind a little bit, and the spectacle and the overall themes of the movie become the front and center. But that wasn't the case with this one. But maybe because of the nature of it, it was a biopic. So, but yeah, just amazing and thoroughly deserved, I think, anyway, of the top spot.
Absolutely. Well, solid top 10 list there, Andy. Right, guys, I'm going to have to abruptly end this stream because I've now got to run to work.
Thanks for Ellis.
Bloody hell. I'm going to have to get my running shoes on here a little bit. But yeah, guys, I haven't spoken to Andy about this. This is like, I don't know if you're available next Thursday night, Andy, but we're talking about doing a live stream next Thursday night for our most anticipated of this year, 2024. There's plenty to talk about for that. So that'll be the topic of the next episode. But I just want to thank Paul and thank Andy for coming on. This is hopefully going to be one of many this year. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it, guys. thank you everyone for watching. Sorry, I've been a bit lackadaisy on the comments. Thanks, Andy, for chiming in there and sorting the comments out.
It's the first one, mate. We'll get there.
And once I haven't got this work looming over my head, then we'll be good to go. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This has been Total Movie Recall podcast stream. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Been a pleasure. Bye, guys.